What was before the very beginning of everything? Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered where it all came from? Or maybe you've thought about the very first moment our universe began, often called the Big Bang. It's a huge, amazing idea that everything we know, every star, every planet, even you and me, started from something incredibly tiny and hot. But here's the thing that really twists your mind. What was there before that? Before the Big Bang, before space, before time itself even started ticking? This isn't just a science question. It's a deep mystery that people have wondered about for thousands of years. Think about it. Our brains are built to understand beginnings. A story begins on page 1. A race begins at the starting line. A day begins when the sun rises. Everything has a starting point, right? But with the universe, it feels different. If there was a beginning, then something must have come before it to make it happen. But if that something had its own beginning, then what came before that? It's like falling down a never-ending staircase of what was before. Many cultures and religions around the world have their own answers. They might talk about a creator, a powerful being who brought everything into existence from nothing. Or they might speak of cycles, where the universe ends and then begins again, over and over, like an endless breath. These ideas give comfort and meaning, showing us that people have always felt this pull to understand our origins. But even then, if there was a creator, where did they come from? If there are cycles, what started the very first cycle? Modern science, with all its amazing discoveries, can tell us a lot about what happened after the Big Bang. It can describe the first fractions of a second and how everything expanded and cooled. But when it comes to the moment before the Big Bang, science honestly says, we don't know. It's like asking what's north of the North Pole. The question doesn't quite make sense within our normal understanding of space and direction. Our rules of physics, the ones that explain how everything works, seem to break down at that ultimate edge. Think about watching a movie. The movie starts, the first scene plays, and the story begins. You might know a lot about what happens from that point on. But what was before the movie started? Well, there was a director, actors, a film crew. Before that, someone wrote a script. Before the script, someone had an idea for the story. But where did that idea come from? It came from the writer's mind, influenced by their life, their experiences. And before that, the atoms that made up their brain? You can keep going backward, but at some point it becomes less about a clear before and more about an endless chain of causes. With the universe, it's even bigger, because there was no outside to look in from. There was no time to count the seconds before. So the question, what was before the very beginning of everything, might not have an answer we can fully grasp with our minds right now. And that's okay. Sometimes, the most beautiful questions are the ones that remind us how much we still have to learn, and how vast and mysterious the universe truly is. It's a question that invites us to feel wonder, to be humble about what we know, and to keep our minds open to possibilities beyond what we can imagine. It reminds us that being curious is a journey, not just about finding answers, but about appreciating the depth of the questions themselves. Why do we dream what we dream, really? Have you ever woken up from a dream and thought, where did that come from? Maybe you were flying, or your teeth fell out, or you were back in kindergarten. Dreams can feel so real, so vivid, but also so utterly strange. It's like our brain turns into a movie director overnight, creating these wild stories just for us. But why? Why do we dream? What we dream? It's one of those big, quiet questions, and honestly, nobody has a perfect, clear answer. For thousands of years, people have wondered about dreams. Ancient cultures, like the Egyptians or the Greeks, often believed dreams were messages from gods or spirits. They thought dreams could predict the future or reveal hidden truths. It was a serious business to interpret them, like reading a secret code from another world. Fast forward to today, and science has shown us a lot about what happens in our brain when we sleep. We know that dreams mostly happen during a stage of sleep called REM, which stands for rapid eye movement. During REM sleep, our brain is super active, almost as active as when we're awake. So, here's the thing. While we sleep, our brain is busy. It's not just resting. Think of your brain like a giant computer that's trying to sort through all the information, feelings, and memories from your day. Every person you saw, every sound you heard, every thought you had, your brain tries to make sense of it all. Dreams, in a way, are like a weird, jumbled-up version of this sorting process. Sometimes, what we dream about is clearly linked to what happened that day. Maybe you watched a scary movie, and then you have a nightmare. Or you were thinking a lot about a test, and you dream you forgot to study for it. That makes sense, right? Your brain is replaying and processing those recent experiences. But then there are dreams that seem to come from nowhere. Why did you dream you were swimming in a pool of spaghetti? Many scientists believe that dreams are our brain's way of dealing with our emotions. If you're feeling stressed about something in real life, your dreams might be more anxious or troubled. If you're excited about a trip, you might dream about being on vacation. It's like our brain is trying to work through our feelings, testing out different scenarios in a safe space. It's practicing how to handle things, or just expressing things it can't express when we're awake. This can help us to process worries, fears, or even hopes and desires. And here's another idea. Some researchers think dreams help us store memories. Imagine your brain is like a library. During the day, new books, memories, are constantly coming in. At night, dreams might be the librarians sorting these books, deciding where they belong, and throwing out the ones that aren't important. This process helps us learn and remember things better. It's not just about what you learned in class, but also about skills you picked up or emotional lessons. But the truth is, a dream is also a little bit of magic. No one can truly tell you exactly why you dreamt of a talking dog wearing a tiny hat. Perhaps it was a random collection of images and ideas your brain strung together. Maybe it was a tiny spark of creativity, an idea forming in the quiet corners of your mind. So, when you wake up from a strange dream, you don't need to try and figure out every single detail. Sometimes, it's just your brain doing its mysterious work, creating a unique show just for you. It's a reminder of how complex and wonderful your own mind is, even when it's resting. And that's okay. Some mysteries are beautiful just as they are. Where do thoughts truly come from? Have you ever just paused in the middle of a quiet moment and wondered, where did that idea come from? You're just sitting there, maybe doing homework or looking out the window, and suddenly, a thought pops into your head. It could be about something you need to do, a memory from last summer, or even a silly question you've never asked before. But where do these invisible things, these thoughts, actually begin? It's one of the oldest and deepest mysteries we have. For a long, long time, people didn't really know. Some ancient thinkers, like those in old Greece, believed thoughts came from the heart, thinking it was the center of our feelings and ideas. Others thought a special spirit or soul was responsible, living inside us and creating our inner world. They didn't have the science we have today. They didn't have the tools to look inside the human brain. So it made sense to imagine thoughts arriving from somewhere mysterious, almost magical. But here's what we understand now. Thanks to science, our thoughts are deeply connected to our brain. Your brain is an amazing, complex organ, like a super intricate computer, but way more powerful and interesting. It's made up of billions of tiny cells called neurons. These neurons are constantly talking to each other, sending electrical and chemical signals back and forth. Every time you think, feel, or remember, it's like a tiny electric spark happening in your brain. These sparks travel through pathways, lighting up different areas, and those patterns of activity, that's what we experience as a thought. So, when you suddenly remember that funny thing your friend said last week, it's because a whole network of neurons lit up, bringing that memory forward. Or, when you're trying to solve a tough math problem, your brain is working hard, connecting different pieces of information, and then, boom, the answer appears. It's not just one spot, but a symphony of activity across many parts of your brain working together. Think about it like this. Imagine your brain is a huge, bustling city. Every thought is like a car driving down a street. When you learn something new, a new road is paved. When you think the same thought or remember the same thing often, that road gets used a lot, becoming smoother and easier to travel. That's why some thoughts feel so automatic, or why memories can pop up so quickly. Your past experiences, everything you've seen, heard, felt, and learned, has helped build these roads in your brain. Your thoughts are not just random, they are built from all the things that make you, you. But here's the thing. Even with all our knowledge about neurons and brain activity, the full picture of where thoughts truly come from still holds a deep mystery. We know the brain is involved, but how does all that electrical chatter turn into the feeling of happiness, or the image of a blue sky, or the thought of a delicious pizza? How do those simple signals become the rich, personal world inside your head? That's the part that still makes us wonder. It reminds us that there's so much more to learn about ourselves and the universe. Our thoughts are unique to each of us, shaped by our individual experiences, but they also connect us to a shared human experience of wonder and curiosity. So, as you drift off to sleep, maybe think about that incredible city inside your head, always working, always creating, always pondering. And know that simply having the ability to think, to wonder, is a profound and beautiful mystery, one that makes each of us endlessly fascinating. If a tree falls in a forest, does it make a sound? Imagine you're walking deep in a forest. It's quiet. So quiet, you can almost hear your own thoughts. Then, far away, you see a huge, old tree slowly start to lean, then crash down with a mighty thud. No one else is around for miles. No animals, no people, just you. Did that tree make a sound? Here's the thing about this question. It might seem simple, but it's actually really deep. It makes us think about what sound really is, and what real means. Most of us probably think, of course, it made a sound. Trees falling are loud. But let's dig a little deeper. When a tree falls, it creates vibrations. The big trunk hits the ground, and that energy shakes the air around it. These air shakes, or waves, travel outward. This is the physical part of sound. It's like dropping a pebble into a pond. The ripples spread out whether anyone sees them or not. So, yes, from a scientific point of view, the tree creates those air vibrations. They are definitely there, even if no one is around. But here's the other side of it. For those vibrations to become what we experience, as sound like a loud crash that makes your ears perk up, something needs to be there to hear it. An ear picks up the vibrations, and then a brain turns those vibrations into an actual experience, a sound with a certain pitch and loudness. If there's no ear and no brain, is it still sound in the way we usually mean it? Or is it just physical vibrations waiting to be heard? People have thought about this for a very long time. Hundreds of years ago, smart thinkers, like a philosopher named George Berkeley, wondered if things truly existed, if no one was there to see or hear them. He believed that things only became real in our minds, through our senses. It's a tricky idea, right? Like, does your favorite song exist as a song if no one is playing it or listening to it? Or is it just a bunch of notes written on paper, or digital code on a computer, waiting for someone to bring it to life with their ears? Think about it like this. What about a color? Let's say you have a bright red apple. That apple reflects certain light waves. Those waves hit your eyes, and your brain turns them into the color red that you see. But if there were no eyes in the world to see the apple, would it still be red? The light waves would still be bouncing off it, sure, but the experience of redness wouldn't exist. It's just light waves, not red, until someone sees it. Or here's another way to think about it. Imagine you've written a really funny joke in a secret notebook. You never show it to anyone, and no one ever reads it. Is it still funny? The words are there on the page. But the funniness of the joke, the part that makes people laugh, can only happen when someone reads it and understands it. Until then, it's just words. So, when the tree falls, the physical vibrations definitely happen. That's science. But the sound as we experience it, the crash that your mind makes sense of, might need a listener. This makes us think about how much of our reality is created by us, by our senses, and by our minds. Our attention, our presence, our way of seeing and hearing the world, they help make things real for us. The world outside is full of amazing things, but it's our own minds that give them meaning, that turn vibrations into music, and light waves into colors. We don't just live in the world. In some ways, We help create it by how we notice it, hear it, and feel it. And that's a beautiful thought, isn't it? It means our presence, our awareness, truly matters. Is the universe just one giant bubble? Have you ever looked up at the night sky, maybe on a clear night, and felt so small? All those stars, galaxies, swirling lights stretching out further than your mind can imagine. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if everything we can see, everything we know, is actually just a tiny part of something much, much bigger? What if our entire universe is like one single bubble, floating among countless others? This isn't just a fun thought experiment. It's a real question that scientists and thinkers have been wrestling with for a long time. The idea of the universe being a bubble can mean a few things. One way to think about it is that our observable universe, everything light has had time to reach us from since the Big Bang, is like the inside of a vast, expanding balloon. From where we are, we can only see so far, like being inside a gigantic, growing bubble. The edges of what we can see are always moving away from us, because the universe itself is stretching out. But then there's another, even bigger idea. What if our universe isn't the only one? Imagine blowing soap bubbles in a sink. You blow one, and it floats for a bit. Then you blow another, and another. They all exist in the same air, sometimes touching, sometimes separate. That's a bit like the multiverse theory. This idea suggests that our universe is just one of many, perhaps even an infinite number, of other universes. Each one could be its own separate bubble, with its own laws of physics, its own stars, its own history. Some might be tiny, others vast. Some might be expanding, some might not. For centuries, people have wondered about the edges of existence. Ancient philosophers in Greece thought the universe might be like a big sphere, with us at the center. Later, with telescopes, we saw how truly immense space is. The bubble idea is a modern way to try and make sense of something so huge, it's almost impossible to picture. It helps us think about the what-if scenarios. What if our Big Bang, the moment our universe started, wasn't unique? What if it was just one of many bangs that started other bubbles in a much larger cosmic foam? Here's the thing. We don't know for sure. We can't see beyond our own cosmic bubble, just like you can't see the air outside your soap bubble from the inside. But the idea is powerful. It challenges us to think beyond what's directly in front of us, beyond even what our most powerful telescopes can see. It helps us feel the deep mystery of space. So, when you look up at the night sky, remember that deep question. Is our universe a bubble? Is it one of many? The answer isn't something we have yet, and maybe never will. But letting your mind explore these possibilities, letting yourself feel that sense of deep wonder and awe at the unknown, that's part of what makes us human. It reminds us that there's always more to learn, more to imagine, even in the quiet moments before sleep. Why do we forget things we once knew so well? Have you ever studied really hard for a test, felt like you knew everything, and then when you see a question, your mind just goes blank? Or maybe you try to remember the name of a movie you watched last year, and it's right there, on the tip of your tongue, but it just won't come out? This feeling, this mystery of forgetting, is something humans have wondered about for a very long time. It feels a bit like a part of you has gone missing. For centuries, people thought of our minds like a blank slate or a wax tablet where experiences were written down. Over time, those writings might fade or get scratched out. But here's the thing. Our brains are much more complex than a tablet or even a giant library. When we learn something new, our brains create tiny connections. Think of it like building a little path in a vast forest. The more you use that path, the clearer it becomes. You can walk it easily. But what happens if you stop using that path? Weeds grow, branches fall, and soon it's hard to even tell there was a path there at all. That's a bit like what happens with memories. It's not always about losing the memory completely. Sometimes, it's just hard to find. Imagine your brain is like a huge library. Every memory is a book. When you learn something new, you place a book on a shelf. If you don't visit that book for a long time, or if it was placed on the wrong shelf to begin with, it can be really hard to find it again when you need it. The book is still there, but you can't get it back easily. Early thinkers, like the ancient Greeks, already knew that forgetting was a part of life. They even talked about a mythical river of forgetfulness. But it wasn't until much later that scientists really started to look at how this happens. One big idea came from a scientist named Hermann Ebbinghaus way back in the late 1800s. He showed that we forget things really quickly right after we learn them, especially if we don't try to remember them or use them again. And then, the forgetting slows down. It's like a leaky bucket. The water pours out fast at first, then just drips. Think about learning to ride a bike. When you first learn, it's all about balance and pedaling, maybe even some falls. You practice every day, and soon it's second nature. But what if you don't ride a bike for 5 years? You might feel a little wobbly at first, maybe forget the exact feeling of turning. You haven't completely forgotten how to ride, but the sharp edges of that memory have softened. You might forget specific details of your first bike ride, like what you were wearing, but the skill itself, the muscle memory, is harder to lose completely. Or consider a song you loved last summer. You knew every word. You sang along every time it played. Now, try to sing it from memory. You might get most of it, but some lines, some tricky parts, just won't come to you. The memory of the song is still in your head, but because you haven't been playing it on repeat, those pathways have gotten a little dusty. Our brains are incredible, but they can't hold on to absolutely everything with perfect clarity forever. If they did, we might get overwhelmed. Imagine remembering every single thing you've ever seen, heard, or thought. It would be too much. So, forgetting is actually a really important process. It helps our brains make space for new information, new experiences, and new learning. It helps us focus on what's most important now. It's like your brain is always doing a bit of spring cleaning. It decides what to keep easily accessible, what to put in a less used storage box, and what to let fade into the background. This isn't a flaw. It's a feature. It helps us adapt to new situations and not get stuck in the past. So, when a memory feels just out of reach, or when you find you've forgotten something you thought you knew so well, it's not a sign of failure. It's simply a part of being human, a part of how our amazing minds work. It reminds us that moments are fleeting, and that true learning often comes from revisiting, from reflecting, and from making an effort to keep those pathways clear. Forgetting allows us to move forward, to learn new things, and to not be weighed down by every tiny detail of our past. It's a quiet whisper from our minds, telling us that some things are meant to be held on to tightly, others gently, and some are meant to simply drift away, making room for whatever comes next. And in that gentle fading, there's a kind of peace, a quiet acceptance of the flow of life and learning. What happens to a sound after it's been made? Have you ever stopped to wonder, after a whisper leaves your lips or a song fills a room, where does that sound actually go? We make noise all the time, but it often feels like it just disappears into the air. But here's the thing. Sound doesn't just vanish. It has a journey, a kind of quiet life of its own after it's been born. Think of sound as invisible ripples. When you pluck a guitar string, it vibrates. Those tiny movements push the air around them, creating waves of pressure. These waves spread out, like rings in a pond when you drop a pebble. Our ears pick up these vibrations, and our brains turn them into what we hear. So, a sound is really just energy moving through something, usually air. But what happens once those ripples move past our ears? They keep going. They travel outwards, bouncing off walls, furniture, trees, or anything in their path. When a sound wave hits a surface, a few things can happen. It can be reflected, which is what we call an echo. That's why shouting in a big empty gym sounds different than talking in your bedroom. The sound waves hit the hard walls and bounce right back to you. Or, the sound can be absorbed. Imagine your comfy couch or a thick curtain. When sound waves hit these softer materials, the energy of the wave gets trapped and changes into tiny bits of heat. It doesn't bounce back. That's why rooms with lots of soft things feel quieter and sounds don't echo as much. A library, for example, is full of books and carpets that soak up sound, making it a peaceful place to study. And then there's decay. As sound waves travel, they spread out, and their energy gets weaker and weaker. It's like those ripples in the pond. They get smaller and smaller until they're gone. The further a sound travels from its source, the more spread out its energy becomes, until it's too faint for our ears to pick up. That's why you can hear a car driving by when it's close. But eventually, its sound fades completely as it moves further away. The energy is still there, just too scattered for us to notice. Long ago, thinkers like the ancient Greeks might have wondered about this too. They observed the world closely, seeing how light faded or how a stone thrown into water made ripples that eventually disappeared. They understood that things change form. A sound's energy doesn't just disappear into nothingness. It transforms, becoming too spread out or absorbed by its surroundings until it joins the quiet hum of the world. So, while we might think a sound is gone the moment we stop hearing it, its energy continues its journey. It moves, it interacts, it slowly settles. And in that quiet fading, there's a gentle lesson. It reminds us that everything, even the loudest noise, eventually gives way to stillness. Every word spoken, every note played, eventually softens and becomes part of the shared silence that follows. There's a beauty in how things fade, in the quiet space they leave behind, inviting new sounds, new thoughts, and new moments of peace. Can animals actually talk to each other like us? Have you ever watched a bird singing on a branch, or seen your dog wagging its tail, and wondered what they were really saying? It feels like they're trying to tell us something, doesn't it? But is it actually talking in the way we humans talk? Here's the thing. When we talk about humans talking, we usually mean using language. Language is special. It's not just making sounds. It's about using words that stand for ideas, putting those words together in sentences with rules, grammar, and being able to talk about things that aren't even here right now. We can talk about yesterday's football game, or what we dream about doing next year. We can even talk about feelings like love or fairness, things you can't touch or see. Animals definitely communicate. They have amazing ways of sharing information. A dog barks when someone comes to the door telling you, "Hey stranger." A cat purrs when it's happy, or rubs against your leg asking for attention. Birds sing complex songs to find mates or warn others about danger. Bees do a special waggle dance to show other bees where the best flowers are, telling them directions and distance. Whales sing long, haunting songs that travel across oceans. Ants leave invisible scent trails for their friends to follow to food. These are all forms of communication. They send messages, and other animals understand them. But here's the difference. Most animal communication seems to be about the here and now. It's about immediate needs like finding food, warning about a predator, or showing they want to mate. It's often very specific and fixed. A bird's warning call will always mean danger. It won't suddenly mean, "I'm tired of flying today." They don't seem to combine sounds or signals in new ways to create brand new messages or share complex stories. They don't seem to talk about history, or plans for the future, or abstract ideas like kindness or courage. Think about it like this. Imagine you tell your friend about your exciting summer vacation plans, including all the details of what you hope to see and do. That's using language to talk about the future, about ideas. Now, imagine your pet dog barking at the mailman. The dog is communicating "intruder" or "go away." It's a direct message about something happening right now. The dog isn't telling its doggy friend about its dream of chasing 1,000 squirrels next summer or discussing the philosophical meaning of mail delivery. People have wondered about this for a very long time. Ancient thinkers asked if animals had souls or minds like ours. In recent times, scientists have studied animal communication very closely. They've tried teaching chimpanzees sign language or using special keyboards with symbols. And yes, these animals can learn to use symbols to ask for things, like give food or play ball. But even with years of training, they don't seem to develop the kind of open-ended language we have, where they can make up new sentences they've never heard before, or talk about things that are not right in front of them. They don't seem to ask, why, or debate ideas. So, can animals talk like us? The simple answer is, not really. Not with our kind of complex language. Their communication is powerful and effective for them, for their lives. But it seems different from the way humans use language to build complex thoughts, share stories, and imagine things that don't exist yet. It's a mystery we're still trying to figure out. What does it feel? like to be an animal, to understand the world through barks and scents and dances? We can only guess. Maybe we shouldn't think of their ways of communicating as lesser, just different. They have a whole rich world of signals and understanding that we are only beginning to truly appreciate. Our human language allows us to share incredibly deep thoughts, to connect across time and space, to learn from the past, and to plan for the future. It's a truly amazing gift. But watching animals, with their own silent languages and clear calls, can remind us that there are many ways to know and many ways to connect. It makes you wonder how much more there is to understand about the conversations happening all around us, even if we don't always hear them with our human ears. And that's a calm thought to carry into the quiet. Why do we have feelings we can't explain with words? Have you ever felt something so strong, so clear, that you just couldn't find the right words to describe it? Maybe it was a moment of pure joy, like standing on top of a mountain and seeing everything below, or a wave of sadness, deep and quiet, for no clear reason. We all have these feelings. They are powerful, real, and sometimes they just don't fit neatly into sentences. So here's the thing. Why is that? Why do some emotions seem to live beyond language? Think about it. We use words to share ideas, to tell stories, to teach and learn. But human experience is so much bigger than just words. Long before we had complex languages, our ancestors felt fear, love, wonder. These feelings are wired into us, deep in parts of our brain that don't think in terms of grammar or vocabulary. Our feelings come from a very ancient place inside us, a place that remembers and reacts even before our thinking brain catches up. For thousands of years, people have wondered about this. Ancient thinkers and poets often talked about the heart or the spirit as the place where these wordless feelings lived. They knew there was more to us than just what we could speak. It's like our bodies and spirits have their own language, a language of feeling, separate from the words we use every day. It's a way our inner world speaks to us. Here's a way to think about it. Imagine you're listening to your favorite song. Maybe it has no words, just music. But the melody, the rhythm, the way the instruments play together, it makes you feel something, right? Maybe it makes you feel excited, or calm, or even a little bit sad. Can you perfectly explain why that specific combination of notes makes you feel that way? Probably not. You just feel it. The music speaks directly to your emotions, bypassing the need for words. It's the same with looking at a beautiful painting or seeing a stunning sunset. You might say, "It's amazing," or "It's so peaceful." But those words don't truly capture the rush of wonder or the deep calm you feel inside. The experience is bigger than the description. This happens because our emotions are not just thoughts wrapped in words. They are also physical sensations, memories, and instincts all rolled into one. When you get a gut feeling about someone or something, it's not a thought you can easily explain. It's a deep sense, a signal from a part of you that knows without needing reasons. So, why do we have these feelings that can't be explained? Maybe it's because some parts of life, some truths, are meant to be felt, not just understood with words. These feelings connect us to something deeper than logic. They connect us to our true selves, to each other, and to the vast mystery of the world around us. They remind us that we are more than just thinking machines. We are feeling beings. And sometimes, the most important messages our hearts send us are the ones that whisper without a sound, the ones that simply are. It's okay not to have a perfect explanation for every feeling. In fact, maybe it's a beautiful thing. These wordless feelings are part of what makes us truly human, reaching into places words cannot touch. They are quiet invitations to simply feel, to simply be. What color is pure silence, if it had one? Imagine for a moment, if silence could be seen, not just heard, what color would it be? Would it be stark white, like a fresh, untouched blanket of snow on a still winter morning? Or would it be deep black, like the quiet, endless space of the night sky, far from any city lights? This is a strange question, isn't it? Because silence isn't something we usually think of having a color. It's the absence of sound. But here's the thing. Sometimes, the absence of something can feel like something very real. Pure silence isn't just about turning down the volume on a speaker or closing a door to block out noise. It's deeper than that. Think about a time when everything truly went quiet around you. Maybe you were deep in a forest, away from roads and people. Maybe you were in your room late at night, and even your thoughts seemed to slow down. That feeling, that moment when the world outside your head seems to fade, and your own mind quiets too, that's closer to pure silence. It's not just quiet. It's a kind of peace, or sometimes a huge emptiness. Throughout history, people have looked for silence. Monks and wise thinkers often sought out quiet places, far from the busy world. They believed that in silence they could think more clearly, understand themselves better, and connect with deeper ideas. It was a place for reflection, for truly listening to their own thoughts without interruption. It was like a blank canvas for their minds. And that's why it matters. Silence can be a powerful space. Think of it this way. Imagine you're trying to solve a really tricky math problem. If your friends are talking loudly, music is blasting, and your phone keeps buzzing, it's hard to focus, right? Your brain is trying to process all that noise. But if you go to a quiet room, where there are no distractions, suddenly your mind has space. It's like the clutter gets cleared away, and you can see the problem more clearly. That quiet room, that focused feeling, that's a glimpse of what pure silence can offer. It gives your mind room to breathe. So, if silence is like a space for your thoughts, what color would that space be? If it's calming and peaceful, maybe it would be a soft, gentle blue, like the sky on a perfectly clear day. Blue often makes us think of calm and serenity. Or perhaps it would be a very light gray, almost white, a color that suggests neutrality, like a fresh page in a notebook, ready for new ideas. It's not loud. It doesn't demand attention. It just is. Some might say silence is black. When you close your eyes in a totally dark room, there's no light, no sound. It's a complete absence. This kind of silence can feel vast and sometimes a little lonely, but also full of potential, like the darkness before dawn. Everything is waiting to begin. But then, if it's truly pure, maybe it's transparent, like clear glass or clean air, something you can look through, something that lets other colors shine through it without adding its own. It's not a color itself, but it allows you to see everything else more clearly. The truth is, there's no single right answer to what color pure silence is. The question itself makes us think about silence in a different way. It makes us pause and consider what silence truly means to us. Is it calming? Is it empty? Is it a place for reflection? The color of silence might change depending on how we feel about it, or what kind of silence we're experiencing. Maybe the beauty of the question is that it doesn't have a single answer. It shows us that even something we think of as an absence like silence can have many different feelings and meanings. It's a reminder that sometimes, in the quietest moments, we can find the most profound peace, the clearest thoughts, and even a sense of wonder. And maybe, just maybe, its color is whatever you need it to be in that moment. If you cloned yourself, which one would be the real you? Imagine you wake up tomorrow and standing right next to your bed is another you. Not just someone who looks like you, but a perfect copy. Every freckle, every memory, every thought you had up until that exact moment. They are truly identical. Now, here's the quiet question. If there are two of you, which one is the original? Which one is the real you? Cloning, in its simplest idea, is like making a perfect photocopy of a living thing. We're not just talking about looks. We mean an exact genetic match. If you cloned yourself, this copy would have the very same DNA that makes you, you. It would be like a brand new identical twin, but one that was created later. But here's the thing. Even if this clone starts out exactly like you, the very next second, your lives would begin to split. You might get up to brush your teeth, while the clone might just stand there, wondering. Immediately, your experiences start to be different. Philosophers, people who think deeply about life's big questions, have wondered about this idea for thousands of years. They didn't have cloning back then, but they had similar puzzles. Think about an old ship, for example. Over many years, parts of the ship break, and new ones are put in their place. Eventually, every single plank and nail might have been replaced. Is it still the same ship? or is it a new one? This old thought experiment is called Theseus's paradox, after a famous hero who had a ship. For people, the puzzle is even bigger. We're not just made of planks and nails. We're made of memories, feelings, dreams, and all the choices we make. So, if your clone has your DNA and even your past memories, what makes you, you? It's not just the stuff you're made of at this moment. Think about a video game save file. You play a game, save your progress, and then you could make a copy of that save file. Both files are identical at that point. But if you keep playing on one file, making new choices and seeing new things, that file changes. The copied one stays frozen in time until you start playing it. And if you play that second file, it will also change, but probably in different ways, because you're making new choices. Your save files are now different. The same idea applies to you and your clone. The clone would have your save file up to the moment it was created. But from that point forward, every breath you take, every word you hear, every person you meet, every choice you make will be unique to you. And the clone, too, would begin to have its own experiences, its own new memories, its own new feelings. You would each be going on your own journey. What makes you the real you then? It's not just the stuff inside your body, or even your thoughts from yesterday. It's the journey you're on, right now, in this moment. It's the way you respond to new things, the way you learn, the way you grow. It's the unique story of your life, unfolding every second. So maybe being real isn't just about being the original copy. It's about being the person who lives this one unique story, day by day, moment by moment. And in that way, both you and your clone would be real, just in your own separate wonderful ways. Why do our bodies need to sleep every single night? Have you ever stopped to really think about how much time we spend sleeping? It's a huge part of our lives, almost a third, if you live to be old. We just sort of do it, night after night, without much thought. But have you ever wondered why? Why isn't it optional, like choosing what to eat for breakfast? Why can't we just keep going, day after day, without ever shutting down? Here's the thing. Sleep isn't just about resting your eyes or feeling tired. It's one of the most mysterious and important things your body does. Imagine your body and mind are like a busy factory, working hard all day long. Thoughts are buzzing, muscles are moving, emotions are changing. Information is constantly coming in. This factory is amazing, but it can't run forever without some serious maintenance. Sleep is like the night shift for this factory. It's when the big repairs happen, when the important work of cleaning and organizing really gets done. For thousands of years, long before science could explain brain waves or hormones, humans have known that sleep was essential. Ancient people didn't have bright lights or alarm clocks, but they understood the deep need for the night's quiet. They might have seen sleep as a journey, a small death before a new beginning, or a time when spirits could travel. Philosophers and storytellers across different cultures have always talked about sleep as a special state, a pause from the waking world. They knew that without it, people grew restless, confused, and eventually, very sick. It was a rhythm of life, as natural and necessary as breathing or eating. Think about your phone or a computer. You use it all day. Opening apps, browsing the internet, playing games. It gets slower, maybe glitches a little. What do? You plug it in to charge, right? Or sometimes, if it's really acting up, you restart it completely. That's a bit like what sleep does for you. When you're awake, your brain is constantly creating tiny waste products, like mental litter. During deep sleep, special pathways in your brain actually open up and flush out these waste products. It's like a cleaning crew coming in and tidying everything up. But it's not just cleaning. When you learn new things during the day, like solving a tough math problem or practicing a new skill in sports, your brain doesn't truly save that information until you sleep. While you're asleep, your brain is busy sorting through all the memories from the day, deciding what to keep and what to let go of. It moves important information from a temporary storage place to a more permanent one, like filing away important documents in a library. This is why getting enough sleep before a big test can actually help you remember things better than if you stayed up all night cramming. Your body also repairs itself during sleep. Muscles grow, tissues are fixed, and hormones that help you grow and stay healthy are released. Even your immune system, which fights off sickness, gets a boost when you're sleeping. So, sleep is a quiet act of surrender, a deep trust in your body's wisdom. It's a reminder that even in a world that never seems to stop, we are designed to pause, to reset, to be remade each night. It's not just about taking a break. It's about preparing for what comes next, making sure you are ready, refreshed, and whole for another day. It's a profound gift, a nightly renewal that allows us to wake up not just alive, but truly ready to live. What's beyond the very edge of outer space? Have you ever looked up at the night sky, seeing all those stars, and wondered if space ever ends? Like, if you could fly a spaceship forever and ever, would you eventually hit a wall? Or would you just keep going and going? It's a question that makes your brain feel a little fuzzy, isn't it? What lies beyond the very last star, the very last galaxy we can imagine? Here's the thing. When we talk about the edge of outer space, we usually mean the observable universe. This is all the light, all the stars, all the galaxies that have had enough time to reach us since the Big Bang. Think of it like this. Imagine you're standing in a very, very old forest. You can only see as far as the trees let you. You know there are more trees beyond what you can see, but their light hasn't reached you yet. Or maybe it's just too far away for your eyes to pick up. The observable universe is kind of like that view from inside the forest. It's not the edge of space itself, but the edge of what we can currently see or detect. So, if that's what we can see, what's beyond it? Does space just stop? Does it have a giant, invisible fence? Scientists and philosophers have thought about this for a long, long time. Some imagine space as infinite, meaning it goes on forever without end, stretching out without any boundaries, like a number line that never stops. If that's true, then there's simply more space, more galaxies, more of everything, continuing endlessly. It's hard to wrap your head around forever, right? But then there's another idea. Imagine an ant walking on the surface of a giant balloon. The ant can walk and walk and walk, and it will never find an edge. It just keeps walking on the curved surface. The surface is finite, meaning it doesn't go on forever. But it's also unbounded, meaning there's no wall or cliff. Our universe might be like that balloon. It could be vast, maybe even curved in ways we can't easily picture, but still finite. If you could travel far enough in one direction, you might, in theory, end up back where you started, without ever hitting an edge. It's a mind-bending thought, for sure. And what if it's neither of those? What if the beyond isn't more space, but something entirely different? For centuries, people thought the Earth was flat, and if you sailed too far, you'd fall off the edge. Then we learned it was round. Then we thought our sun was the center of everything, until we learned it was just one star among billions in a galaxy, and that galaxy was one among billions of others. Each time, our understanding of the edge expanded. So, maybe what's beyond is something we can't even dream up yet, something that challenges everything we think we know about space and existence. This question, what's beyond the edge, isn't really about finding a specific answer, not yet anyway. It's more about the wonder it brings. It makes us think about how big everything is, and how small we are, but also how special we are for being able to ask such enormous questions. It reminds us that there's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to imagine. It's okay not to know the answer. In fact, sometimes the biggest questions are the ones that help us appreciate the mystery of everything, allowing our minds to float gently into the vast, calm unknown. Does time ever actually stop? Even for a moment? Have you ever had a moment where time just seemed to freeze? Like when you're really bored in class and the clock just won't move? Or maybe the opposite, when you're having so much fun playing a game or hanging out with friends that hours feel like minutes? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? This makes you wonder if time can ever truly stop. In the truest sense, like a clock stopping, time itself doesn't just stop, not in the way we usually think. The universe keeps unfolding, moment after moment. Think of it like a river that's always flowing. You can watch it, but you can't make the water stand still. Scientists, especially physicists, tell us that time is a basic part of our universe. It's like another dimension, similar to height, width, and depth. Everything that happens in time. And the cool thing about it is that it's always moving forward, from the past to the future. It doesn't pause. But here's the thing. It can change how it moves for different observers, depending on their speed or the gravity around them. A famous scientist named Albert Einstein came up with a big idea called relativity. It basically says that time isn't the same for everyone, everywhere. Imagine two people. One is standing still, and the other is traveling really, really fast, almost at the speed of light. For the person moving super fast, time would actually pass a tiny bit slower than for the person standing still. It's like time stretches or squeezes. The same thing happens if you're near something with super strong gravity, like a black hole. Time would slow down there too. But even in these extreme cases, time is still moving. It never truly stops moving forward. It just moves at a different pace for different observers. People have thought about this idea for thousands of years. Ancient Greek thinkers, like a philosopher named Aristotle, wondered about time as the measure of motion. He asked, if nothing moves, does time still exist? But even if you stand perfectly still, the earth is spinning around the sun, the universe is expanding, and your heart is beating. So, there's always movement, always change. This is where it gets really interesting for us. In our everyday lives, our brains are amazing. They can make time feel like it's stopping or rushing. This isn't about the universe's clock, but about our personal experience. Think about a really scary moment. Maybe you almost tripped and fell, or there was a sudden loud noise that startled you. For a split second, everything might seem to go into slow motion, right? You might notice every detail, hear every sound clearly, almost like a movie scene. Your brain isn't actually stopping time in the world. Instead, it's processing information incredibly fast because of the shock or danger. That intense focus and quick processing make the moment feel stretched out, as if time had slowed down just for you. Now, think about the opposite. When you're totally absorbed in something you love, drawing, playing a video game, talking with your best friends, hours can just vanish. You look up, and suddenly, it's much later than you thought. This feeling is often called being in the flow or in the zone. Your brain is so focused and happy that it stops tracking time in the usual way. It's like time is flying, even though the clock is still ticking at its normal speed. So, here's what I found. Time doesn't really stop in the universe. It's a constant river, always flowing. But our experience of time can be very different. We can make moments feel longer through intense focus, or make them fly by when we're deeply engaged. Maybe the real question isn't whether time stops, but how we choose to live through the time that's always moving forward. It reminds us to really be present, to notice the small things, because each moment, even if it doesn't freeze, is unique and will never come again. It's like a quiet river, always flowing, and we are just there, watching it, living in it. And that's a beautiful, calm thought to hold on to as you drift off. Why do some songs get stuck in our heads for days? Have you ever found yourself humming a tune? Maybe a song you heard hours ago, or even days. It plays over and over in your mind, a quiet loop, sometimes welcome, sometimes a little annoying. This experience, where a piece of music repeats endlessly in your head, is a common thing, and it tells us something interesting about how our minds work. Think of your brain as a very busy place, always trying to make sense of the world, always looking for patterns. When a song gets stuck, it's often because it has a simple, catchy melody, or a rhythm that's easy for your brain to grab onto. It's like a little puzzle piece that fits just right in an empty space. These sticky songs, sometimes called earworms, are like a tiny fragment of music that your brain keeps replaying, almost as if it's trying to fully understand it, or maybe just enjoying it one more time. Here's the thing. Our brains are built for repetition. We learn by repeating things, right? The alphabet, multiplication tables, even tying our shoes. Music taps into this ancient part of our brain. Long ago, before written language, people remembered stories, lessons, and history through songs and chants. The rhythm and melody help them store information. So, when a modern pop song or even a commercial jingle gets stuck, it's almost a leftover echo of this ancient way of remembering. Your brain is saying, "Hey, this is important, let's keep it playing." Imagine you're solving a jigsaw puzzle. You place a few pieces, and then you step away. Even when you're not looking at the puzzle, your mind might still be thinking about where the next piece goes. It's a bit like that with songs. Sometimes, our brains don't like things to feel unfinished. A song might get stuck because your mind feels it hasn't fully processed it, or it hasn't heard the whole thing in a way that feels complete. So, it keeps replaying a snippet, hoping to find that sense of completion. This often happens when your brain isn't fully busy with something else. If you're walking to school, staring out a window, or trying to fall asleep, your mind has a little extra room. It's like an empty stage, and that catchy song jumps right on, ready to perform for an audience of one, you. It fills that quiet space with its rhythm and melody. Think of it like this. Your mind is always seeking a hum. When it's not focused on a big problem or a thrilling story, it might pick up a simple, strong signal, like a repeating melody. It's not a problem, or a sign that something is wrong. Instead, it's a gentle reminder of how powerful sound can be, how deeply music settles into our memory. It shows us that our inner world is never truly silent, always processing, always finding a rhythm, even when we seek a quiet moment before drifting off to sleep. These tiny musical echoes are just another part of the endless, beautiful activity inside us. Can we ever truly know what another person is thinking? Have you ever looked at a friend or maybe a parent and wondered, what are they really thinking right now? Asterisk, not just what they're saying out loud, but what's going on deep inside their head. It's a question people have asked for a very long time. We can see what someone does, we can hear what they say, but their true thoughts, their real feelings, those seem hidden away. It's like their mind is a secret room that only they have the key to. This idea of truly knowing someone else's inner world is a deep question that philosophers have pondered for ages. They call it the problem of other minds. It's about whether we can actually step inside another person's head and experience their thoughts and feelings exactly as they do. For hundreds of years, thinkers have wondered if this is even possible. Some believe we can only ever know our own minds directly. Everything else we learn about others comes from clues. Their words, their facial expressions, how they act, the choices they make. Think about it this way. Imagine your brain, and every other person's brain is like a closed box. Your box has all your thoughts, your memories, your worries, your dreams, and your secrets inside. You can look into your own box whenever you want. You know exactly what's in there. But when you look at someone else's box, it's sealed shut. You can shake it, you can listen for sounds, you can see if it's heavy or light, you can even guess what might be inside based on how they decorated the outside or what they tell you they put in it. But you can never truly open their box and see its contents with your own eyes. You just have to trust what they tell you, or try to figure it out from the outside clues. Even when someone talks to you, they're only sharing some of what's in their box. They might pick and choose their words. They might be trying to be polite, or brave, or funny. What they say might not be the whole story of what they are truly thinking or feeling deep down. And sometimes, they might not even fully understand their own thoughts and feelings in that moment. Emotions can be messy, and thoughts can race quickly. Consider a time when a friend was really quiet. You might ask, "Are you okay?" And they might say, "Yeah, I'm fine." But their eyes might look sad, or their shoulders might be slumped. You use those clues, the quietness, the eyes, the slumped shoulders, to guess that maybe they're not fine, even if they say they are. You're putting together pieces of a puzzle, but you don't know for sure until they choose to open up more. You don't directly feel their sadness or hear their exact thoughts. You infer them. You make a good guess. Even science, with all its amazing tools, can't perfectly read thoughts. Scientists can look at brain scans, like fMRI. They can see which parts of the brain light up when someone is happy or sad, or when they are thinking about a certain thing. This tells us where activity is happening, but it doesn't tell us what the person is thinking. It doesn't show us the specific words or images or feelings inside their head. It's like seeing the lights turn on in different rooms of a house, but not knowing what conversation is happening inside those rooms. So, if we can't truly step inside another person's mind, what does that mean for how we connect with each other? It means that understanding each other is a really important, ongoing journey. It means we have to listen carefully, not just to words, but to everything. It means we have to ask questions, and be patient, and truly try to see things from someone else's point of view. It also means we should be kind. We never really know the full story of what someone is carrying inside their box. They might be dealing with something tough that we can't see or hear. This mystery can be a little strange, but it can also be beautiful. It means that every time someone trusts you enough to share a thought or a feeling, it's a gift. They are letting you peek into their private world just a little bit. We might never fully know what another person is thinking, completely and totally. But the effort to understand, the act of listening, and the willingness to empathize, to try and feel what they might be feeling, that's what builds real connections. It's what makes us human. It means we keep talking, keep sharing, and keep learning about each other, always. And in that continuous effort, we find a different, deeper kind of knowing. It's not mind reading, but it's something just as special, maybe even more so. It's true human connection. What if everything we see is just a very long dream? Have you ever woken up from a dream, and for a few seconds, you weren't sure if it was real or not? That feeling of confusion, that slight blurring between what just happened in your sleep and what's happening now in your bedroom. Sometimes, when you wake up, does the world feel a little strange? Almost too vivid, like something you could just float through? What if this feeling, this tiny bit of confusion, stretched out over your whole life? What if everything you see, everything you hear, everything you feel right now is actually part of a very long, very detailed dream? Not a dream where you know you're asleep, but one that feels completely real, every single moment of it. This isn't a new idea. People have wondered about this for thousands of years. Smart people long ago, and even now, have asked, how do we really know what's real? Our brains create our reality based on what our senses tell us. Our eyes see light. Our ears hear sound. Our skin feels touch. But what if our brains are just imagining it all, or receiving signals from something else, like in a dream? Think about a time you had a super vivid dream, one where you felt everything, heard everything, just like you do when you're awake. Maybe you were flying, or talking to someone who isn't usually around. In that dream, it all felt completely real, right? Your heart might have raced, you might have laughed out loud, or felt truly scared. But then you woke up, and suddenly, it was just your bed, your room, the morning light. The dream world vanished. What if our entire waking life is just a dream like that, but one we haven't woken up from yet? It's like being completely lost in a really immersive video game. Imagine a game with amazing graphics and a story that pulls you in so much that you forget for a while that you're just sitting on your couch, holding a controller. You're in that world. Your character feels real. The dangers feel real. You react as if it's all happening to you. That's kind of how this idea works. Our brains are powerful. They create our experience. Our eyes take in light. Our ears take in sound. And our brain puts it all together to create the world we see. Or think about optical illusions. You know, those pictures where a square looks bent or lines seem to move, but they're really straight and still. Your eyes see one thing, but your brain can be tricked into seeing another. So, if our senses can be tricked sometimes, what if they're tricked all the time? Just in a much bigger, grander way that we can't even tell. If this whole world is a dream, what does that mean for us? It doesn't have to be a scary thought. Maybe it just means that every moment, every person we meet, every single experience is even more special, like a precious part of a story unfolding just for us. It makes you think about how amazing it is that we can feel so much, learn so much, and connect with others, even if it's all happening inside a kind of grand, elaborate vision. It's a question that asks us to look at life with fresh eyes, to appreciate the simple things, and to wonder about the big mysteries. No one has an answer, and that's okay. Sometimes, The most beautiful questions are the ones that just make us think, that make us feel a little bit more alive, a little bit more connected to the mystery of everything. It's a gentle thought to consider as you drift towards sleep. Why does something exist instead of absolutely nothing? Have you ever just stopped, right where you are, and simply looked around? Not at the specific things like your desk or a tree, but at the fact that anything exists at all? It's a huge, deep question. Why is there something here instead of absolutely nothing? Think about it this way. Imagine a room that is totally, completely empty. Not just empty of furniture, but empty of air, light, sound, even space itself. Just pure, absolute nothingness. Now, if that nothingness was the natural state of things, why did anything ever pop into being? Why did the universe, with all its stars and planets and people and feelings, appear? This isn't about how the Big Bang happened, or how life began on Earth. It's a much bigger question. It's asking, why is there a something to begin with? Why didn't nothing just stay nothing forever? For thousands of years, people have pondered this mystery. Long ago, thinkers and philosophers from different parts of the world would sit and wonder about the very first cause of everything. They weren't just curious about how rivers flowed or how the moon changed shape. They wondered about the reason for reality itself. Many of them thought that nothingness should be the easiest, most natural state. So, the fact that there is something, anything at all, seemed like a massive surprise. It made them feel a deep sense of wonder and a little bit of confusion, too. They didn't have easy answers, and honestly, we still don't. Here's an analogy that might help make sense of this big idea. Imagine you're in a completely quiet place. No voices, no cars, no music, not even the tiny hum of a computer fan. Just total deep silence. Now, picture if, for no clear reason you could ever figure out, a full, beautiful song suddenly started playing from thin air. You didn't turn it on, no one else is there, it just appeared. The silence is like nothing. The song is like something. Why did that song appear instead of the silence just staying quiet and undisturbed forever? Our entire universe, with all its amazing complexity and beauty, is a bit like that unexpected song. Why isn't it just silent and empty forever? Where did the energy come from? Where did the tiny particles that make up everything come from? Why do they follow certain rules and come together to make this world, this life, your thoughts, your feelings? It's a mystery that stretches beyond what our brains can easily grasp. This question doesn't have a simple answer, and that's okay. Maybe some of the deepest questions aren't meant to be solved like a math problem. Instead, they invite us to just feel the incredible wonder of being alive. They help us remember how special and truly mysterious it is that we get to experience anything at all. When you think about it, the fact that there's something instead of nothing makes every single moment, every tree, every laugh, every star in the night sky feel even more precious. It's a calm thought that can make you feel connected to the vast, beautiful, and unexplained magic of existence itself. Do parallel universes really exist out there? Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered how truly vast everything is? Or maybe you've thought about a choice you made, a simple one like turning left instead of right, or saying yes instead of no. And then you wondered, what if? What if you had chosen differently? Does that different path exist somewhere? This thought leads us to one of the deepest questions out there. Do parallel universes really exist? The idea of a parallel universe is kind of like imagining a whole other version of reality. It's a place where everything might be just a little bit different, or maybe even completely unlike our own world. Think of it like a massive library, but instead of books, each book is a whole universe, and inside each universe, a slightly different story is playing out. In one universe, you might have chosen that left turn. In another, you chose right. In another, maybe dinosaurs never went extinct. Each of these different realities, existing side by side with ours, but completely separate, is what we call a parallel universe. Humans have thought about these kinds of ideas for a long, long time. Ancient thinkers, thousands of years ago, would often sit and ponder the idea of endless possibilities. They didn't have telescopes or quantum physics, but they had their minds. They wondered if there were infinite worlds beyond our own, each one unique. It was more of a philosophical question back then, a way to think about the vastness of what could be. Later, as science grew, especially in the last 100 years, a strange part of physics started to make this old idea seem less like a dream and more like a possibility. This part of science is called quantum mechanics. It deals with the smallest things in the universe, like tiny particles that make up everything around us. Here's the thing. When scientists look at these tiny particles, they sometimes seem to exist in many different places at once, or in many different states, until we actually observe them. It's like they haven't quite decided what they are until we look. This weirdness led some scientists to propose something called the many worlds interpretation. It suggests that every time one of these tiny particles has a choice, or every time something uncertain happens, the universe doesn't just pick one path. Instead, the universe splits. One new universe is created for every possible outcome. So, if a particle can be here or there, then in one universe it's here, and in another, it's there. And if this happens all the time, for every tiny event and every big decision, then there could be an unimaginable number of parallel universes, each one representing a different way things could have turned out. Imagine you're reading a choose-your-own-adventure book. You get to a page where you have to decide, do you open the mysterious door, or do you walk away? If you choose to open the door, the story continues down one path. But in a parallel universe, another version of you chose to walk away, and that story continued down a completely different path. Both possibilities exist, just in different books or different universes. Our life, our choices, our existence could be just one story playing out in one of these countless books. So, while we don't have proof that parallel universes exist, the idea is deeply fascinating. It reminds us that our world, our choices, and our experiences are incredibly special, precisely because they are our unique path in this specific universe. It's a comforting thought, in a way. It suggests that every possibility, every choice, every fleeting moment might echo somewhere, in some other reality. And that makes the universe we live in, the one we can see and touch, feel even more precious and full of wonder. It's a quiet invitation to simply be curious, to wonder about the vastness of what is and what might be. What's the true meaning of a completely random moment? Have you ever just been walking along, maybe thinking about nothing in particular, and then something completely unexpected happens? Like a bird suddenly flying right past your ear, or a song you haven't heard in years randomly playing on the radio, just as you're thinking about that memory? Those moments feel unplanned, right? They just appear. That's what we often mean by a random moment. It's something that seems to happen purely by chance, without a clear reason or pattern we can easily see. We live in a world where we often try to find reasons for everything. We look for causes, for patterns, for things that make sense. And for a long, long time, people believed that everything that happened had a specific cause. Maybe it was a plan set out by fate, or the will of powerful beings. The idea that something could just happen, without any cause we could ever trace back to, was a bit strange for many. But as humans kept observing, kept asking questions, we started noticing things that felt truly unconnected to anything else. Things that seemed to pop up out of nowhere. Think about something as simple as flipping a coin. You toss it high into the air. Will it be heads or tails? Before it lands, it feels like a truly random outcome. You can't really predict it no matter how hard you try. Even if you knew exactly how much force you used, or how many times it would spin, the tiny, tiny differences in how you flick your wrist, or the air currents around it, make it impossible to be absolutely certain. It's so unpredictable that for all practical purposes, it's random. And it's not just in coin flips. Sometimes, the universe seems to work that way at its most basic level. Scientists who study the smallest particles in the world, things smaller than atoms, have found that some events really do seem to happen without any clear cause. It's not that we haven't found the cause yet. It's that there might not be one in the way we usually think about it. Imagine a tiny, tiny particle suddenly appearing or disappearing. It's like a whisper in the universe saying, sometimes things just are. So, what does this mean for us? What's the true meaning of these moments? Maybe it's a reminder that life isn't always a straight line from A to B. It's not always a series of planned steps, where every effect has a clear cause you can point to. Sometimes, there are these little detours, these unexpected turns, these moments that just land in your lap, seemingly from nowhere. Consider this. A random moment can be like a tiny ripple in a pond. You didn't mean to drop a pebble, but it fell in. And that tiny ripple might grow into bigger waves, affecting everything around it in ways you never intended or imagined. Maybe because that random song played, it reminded you of an old friend, and you decided to call them. That simple, unplanned event led to a connection you wouldn't have made otherwise. The random moment wasn't just a moment. It was a tiny spark that started something new. The true meaning might lie in how we respond to these moments. Do we try to force them into a pattern, looking for a hidden meaning where there might be none? Or do we simply allow them to be? There's a certain peace in accepting that not everything needs an answer, a reason, or a perfect explanation. It's okay for things to just happen. Perhaps the beauty of a random moment is its pureness. It's a gift of surprise, a little nudge from the unknown. It teaches us to be present, to notice the unexpected beauty or wonder that pops up when we least expect it. It reminds us that life is vast and mysterious, and that not everything is within our control or even our understanding. And sometimes, in those moments of true randomness, we find a quiet kind of peace. We can simply observe, wonder, and let the gentle flow of life carry us, even through its most surprising turns. Why do some jokes make us laugh until we cry? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? You hear a joke or see something so incredibly funny that you just can't stop. Your stomach hurts, your face gets red, and then, without warning, tears start streaming down your face. You're laughing so hard you're crying. It's a mix of feelings, a puzzle almost. How can joy and sorrow, or at least the physical signs of them, blend into one moment? Here's the thing. Our bodies are pretty amazing, and sometimes they react in ways we don't expect when emotions get really strong. Think about it. When you're super happy, or super sad, or even super scared, your body has ways of showing it. We might gasp, or jump, or even feel a chill. Laughter and tears are both powerful ways our body lets out a strong feeling. For a long time, people have wondered about this. Ancient thinkers, way back when, thought about how our minds and bodies are connected. They noticed that extreme feelings often lead to big physical reactions. Like, if you're really excited, your heart beats fast. If you're really sad, you might cry. So, when it comes to laughter that turns into tears, it's often about an intense buildup, and then a sudden, huge release. Imagine you're trying to hold your breath underwater for a very long time. You can feel the pressure building up in your chest. Your body is screaming for air. And then, when you finally burst to the surface, you don't just breathe gently, do you? You might gasp, cough, and take in a huge, almost shaky breath. It's a powerful release of all that tension. Laughter can work a bit like that. A good joke often builds up tension. It plays with your expectations, maybe sets up a surprise. Your mind is working, waiting for the punchline. And then, when the joke lands, that built-up expectation, that small bit of mental tension, bursts out as laughter. It's a kind of relief. Now, when that laughter is really, really strong, when it's explosive and overwhelming, it's like your body needs an even bigger way to let it all out. Your brain is getting a huge rush of good feelings, maybe some surprise, some pure joy. And sometimes, tears are just an extra valve to release all that powerful energy. It's like an emotional overflow system. Your body can only handle so much intense feeling before it needs an extra way to release it. Think about a time you were really surprised by something good, like a sudden amazing gift, or you got some fantastic news you didn't expect. Sometimes, people cry tears of joy in those moments, right? It's not sadness. It's just that the feeling is so big, so sudden, that tears come along for the ride. They're a way for your system to deal with an overwhelming good thing. So, when a joke makes us laugh until we cry, it's not because the joke is secretly sad. It's because the joy, the surprise, the sudden release of built-up expectation is just so immense. Our bodies, in their wisdom, find every possible way to express that powerful feeling. It shows us how connected our feelings are, how even joy can be so big it needs tears to help us process it. It's just another way our amazing bodies handle the very strong, very real emotions that make us who we are. Is free will actually a real thing we have? Have you ever thought about why you picked out the clothes you're wearing today? Or why you chose that specific snack? Or which video to watch next? It feels like you made the choice, right? Like you were totally in charge. But what if you weren't? What if those choices, and all your choices, were somehow already set long before you even thought about them? This big, deep question is about something called free will. Free will is the idea that we, as humans, have the power to make our own choices and decisions. It means we could have chosen differently. If you decided to read a book instead of playing a game, free will suggests you truly had the power to do either. It's about being the real boss of your own actions, not just following a script written by something else. People have thought about this for thousands of years. Ancient thinkers, and later on philosophers, would sit and wonder if we truly have control. They asked if our lives are like a movie where every scene is already filmed, or if we're like the director, making up the story as we go. Some believe that everything that happens, including our choices, is just a link in a long chain of cause and effect. This idea is sometimes called determinism. It's like dominoes falling. If the first one falls, every other one is going to fall in a certain way. So, if everything that happened before you were born led to this exact moment, then how much choice do you really have right now? Think about something simple, like choosing what to have for dinner. You might think, I want pizza tonight. But where did that thought come from? Maybe you saw a pizza commercial. Maybe your friend mentioned pizza earlier. Maybe you had a tough day, and pizza is your comfort food. Are these things just influences, or do they actually decide for you? Our brains are amazing. They hold all our past experiences, our feelings, and even our biology. When we make a choice, all these things are swirling around in there. Are they guiding our choices, or are they making our choices? Consider this. Let's say you're about to make a simple choice, like which color pen to use from a pile of blue, black, and red. You pick red. You feel like you chose it freely. But maybe your brain, without you even knowing it, remembered that you saw a cool red car this morning, or that red is your favorite team's color, or maybe your eyes just happened to land on the red pen first. Was that choice really yours? Or was it just the result of a million tiny things you weren't even aware of? It's a bit like a complex machine. A robot can make a choice to move left or right, but it's only doing what its programming tells it to do. Are we, in a way, like very, very complicated robots, programmed by our genes, our upbringing, our memories, and everything that has ever happened to us? And if we are, can we truly be blamed or praised for our actions? If a robot trips, do you blame the robot or the person who programmed it? This question doesn't have an easy answer, and that's perfectly okay. The important part isn't finding a simple yes or no. The real value is in asking the question at all. Thinking about free will makes us look at ourselves, our motivations, and the world around us in a new way. It makes us wonder about responsibility, about what it means to be truly ourselves, and about the amazing, complex dance between what we choose and what seems to be set in motion. And as you drift off to sleep, maybe this thought can be a quiet companion, the wonder of whether you are truly the author of your own story, or just a character in one that's already being written. What was the very first word spoken by a human? Have you ever stopped to wonder about that? About the very first sound that became a word, and then the first two words, then a sentence. It's a truly fascinating thought, isn't it? We use words every single day to talk about our feelings, to learn new things, to connect with our friends. But where did it all begin? Here's the thing. No one actually knows. It's one of the biggest mysteries of human history, a question that has no answer. We can't go back in time and listen to our earliest ancestors. There are no recordings, no ancient texts from that far back. The development of language happened long before writing was invented. So, the first word ever spoken is lost to time, a whisper in the winds of countless ages. But we can think about how language might have started. Imagine a time when humans communicated mostly with sounds and gestures. Maybe a grunt to warn of danger, a cry to express hunger, a pointing finger to show where food was. These simple sounds and movements were a kind of basic language. Over tens of thousands of years, these basic ways of communicating slowly grew more complex. Think about a baby learning to speak. They don't just wake up one day and start reciting a poem. First, they babble, making all sorts of sounds. Then, they might make a sound that sticks like mama or dada. It's a single sound that has meaning. Then they add another word, maybe ball. Soon it's want ball, and then a full sentence like, I want the red ball. This process, from simple sounds to complex sentences, takes years for a child. Now, imagine that process stretched out over thousands and thousands of years for all of humanity. Early humans probably started by giving names to important things. Maybe a sound for water when they found a stream, or a sound for fire when they saw flames. It wasn't about one perfect sound. It was about creating a shared understanding. When one person made a sound, and others understood what that sound meant, that was the true start of language. It was about creating common ground, so people could work together, teach each other, and share ideas. The first word wasn't a fancy word. It probably wasn't philosophy or democracy. It was likely something very simple, very direct, something about survival or immediate needs. Maybe it was a sound for danger, or food, or look, a sound that helped groups of people stay safe or find what they needed. So, while we can't point to the exact sound or word that started it all, the important part isn't what the very first word was. The important part is that we learned to speak at all. This ability to use words, to share our thoughts, feelings, and dreams, is what makes us truly human. It allows us to build communities, create stories, and pass down knowledge through generations. It lets us ask big questions, like the one we're exploring right now. It is a quiet, powerful gift that connects us all. And even though its origin is a beautiful mystery, the wonder of language continues to unfold with every single word we speak. Can a computer truly think and feel like a person? Have you ever seen a super smart computer? Maybe one that plays chess better than any human? Or answers your questions like a real person? It's amazing, right? It makes you wonder, is that computer actually thinking? Does it feel anything, even a tiny bit, when it wins a game or helps you find information? Here's the thing. When we talk about computers, they're incredibly good at following instructions. They can process huge amounts of information really fast. They can find patterns, make predictions, and even create things like art or music based on rules they've been given. But is that the same as thinking the way you or I think and feeling? That's even trickier. Thinking for us involves understanding, making new connections that weren't obvious before, having fresh ideas, and even being confused or curious. It's not just about finding the right answer. It's about the journey of figuring things out, sometimes making mistakes, and learning from them. Feeling means having emotions like joy, sadness, anger, or love. It's a deep, personal experience that shapes how we see the world and respond to it. Our emotions often come with physical sensations, like a knot in your stomach when you're nervous, or a warm feeling in your chest when you're happy. Think about your calculator. It can do really complex math problems in seconds. It never makes a mistake, even with the longest numbers. But does it understand what the numbers mean? Does it feel proud when it gets the answer right? Number? It just follows its programming, step by step, without any inner experience. It's a tool that performs actions incredibly well. A smart speaker on your counter can tell you the weather, play your favorite song, or answer a question about history. It sounds almost human, doesn't it? It might even say, "You're welcome." But does it care that you're listening to music? Does it feel happy to help you? Or is it just picking words from a massive database and putting them together in a way that makes sense to us, based on how humans usually talk? It can mimic a conversation, but it doesn't actually feel like having one. A long time ago, a very smart scientist named Alan Turing asked a similar question. He came up with an idea called the Turing test. Imagine you're chatting with someone through texts and you can't see them. If you can't tell if you're talking to a human or a computer, then the computer passes the test. But here's the problem. Passing the test doesn't mean the computer actually thinks or feels in the human sense. It just means it's really good at pretending to be human. It's like a brilliant actor who plays a sad person on stage. The actor might make you feel sad, but they aren't truly sad themselves in that moment. They're performing. Computers work with code, with logic. They don't have a body that feels pain or pleasure, gets tired, or enjoys the taste of food. They don't have memories of growing up, or the feeling of sunlight on their skin, or the comfort of a friend's hug. All of these physical and emotional experiences shape how we think and feel. Our emotions aren't just calculations. They're deeply connected to our bodies, our personal histories, and our shared human experience of living in the world. They come from being alive, from having a consciousness that experiences things. So, can a computer truly think and feel like a person? Right now, and maybe for a very long time, the answer seems to be no. Computers can mimic thinking and feeling very well. They can be incredibly smart in their own way, helping us solve problems and explore new ideas. But the mystery of human consciousness, that inner world of thoughts, dreams, and feelings, that unique sense of being, that seems to be something very special, something unique to living beings. It's not just about crunching numbers or following rules. It's about being alive in all its complex and beautiful ways. And that's a thought that can make you wonder long after the computer has powered down. It makes you realize how truly amazing your own mind and every human mind truly is. Why do we like certain smells more than others? Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt happy because of a smell? Maybe it was the scent of freshly baked cookies, or the familiar smell of a favorite blanket. Why do some smells make us smile, while others make us scrunch up our noses? It's a fascinating question, and the answer goes deep into how our brains work. Here's the thing. Our sense of smell is incredibly powerful, even more so than you might realize. When you breathe in a scent, those tiny smell particles travel straight to a very old, very special part of your brain. This part is called the limbic system. It's a little like the brain's control center for emotions and memories. Think of it this way. When you see something or hear something, that information often takes a longer path through different brain areas before it gets to your feelings. But with smell, it's almost like a direct line. So, when your nose picks up a smell, it's not just recognizing a scent. It's also triggering memories and feelings that are tied to that scent. Imagine your brain has a huge library, and every book is a memory or an emotion. When you smell something, it's like a librarian instantly pulling out the right book for you, complete with all the feelings stored inside. For example, think about the smell of your grandma's house, or a specific kind of soap that reminds you of summer camp. These smells aren't just pleasant on their own. They become special because they got linked to happy times or people in your mind. Maybe that cookie smell brings back memories of warmth, safety, and love, because your grandma often baked them for you when you were little. Your brain made a powerful connection. Cookie smell equals feeling good. This connection between smell and memory isn't new. For humans long ago, smell was super important for survival. Our ancestors used their noses to find food, to avoid danger like a predator lurking nearby, or to tell if something was rotten and unsafe to eat. Good smells often meant safety or nourishment, while bad smells warned of threat or decay. Over thousands of years, our brains got really good at linking smells to experiences, teaching us what was good and what was bad for us. This ancient system is still running inside us today, even if we're just smelling shampoo. And that's why it matters. A smell isn't just a smell. It's a trigger. It's like a secret key that can unlock forgotten moments or strong feelings. The very same scent that one person loves might be completely neutral or even disliked by another. It all depends on their personal experiences, their unique library of memories. Someone who had a bad experience with a certain flower might find its smell unpleasant, even if most people think it's beautiful. Their brain connected that smell to a negative feeling. So, when we ask why we like certain smells more than others, we're really asking about the invisible threads that connect our senses to our deepest selves. Our sense of smell is a quiet, powerful storyteller, always working in the background. It reminds us that our personal history, our experiences, and our feelings are woven into every breath we take, shaping how we experience the world, often without us even knowing it. It's a deep, personal mystery, tucked away in every scent. What's the very last number you could ever count to? Have you ever wondered about that? Like, if you just kept counting forever and ever, would you finally hit a wall? Would there be a very last number? One that you simply couldn't add one more to? It's a question that can make your brain feel a little fuzzy, isn't it? Because our minds usually like to find beginnings and endings for everything. We like neat packages. But here's the thing about numbers. They don't work that way. There isn't a very last number. You can count for as long as you want, and even then, there will always be another number waiting. This idea of never ending is what we call infinity. It's not actually a number itself. You can't point to infinity on a number line or write it down like you would a million or a billion. Instead, it's a concept. It's a way of thinking about something that just goes on, without end. Think of it as a journey without a destination, a path that stretches out forever into the distance. People have thought about this for thousands of years. Even ancient thinkers, long before us, wrestled with the idea of things that never stop. They realized that if you have any number, no matter how big, you can always add one more to it. Always. So if you say, okay, the biggest number is 1 trillion, someone can just say, how about 1,000,000,001? And then you can add 1 to that, and one more, and one more. It's like the universe itself. It just keeps expanding. We can't see the end of it, because it might not have an end. Imagine you're standing on a beach. A really, really big beach with endless sand. You decide to count every single grain of sand. You could count for your whole life, and then your children could count, and their children, and so on. Even after thousands of years, the number of sand grains would be incredibly, unbelievably huge. But here's the key difference. Even that massive number of sand grains would eventually have an end. You could, in theory, count them all. They are finite. But numbers themselves? They are infinite. There's no last grain of sand when it comes to counting numbers, because you can always invent a new one by just adding a single digit, or adding one to the last number you thought of. This idea of endlessness can feel a little strange, maybe even a little overwhelming at first. But when you think about it more, it can also be very peaceful. It means there's no limit to possibilities. It means wonder never truly ends. It's a quiet reminder that some of the deepest truths aren't about finding a final answer, but about understanding that some things are simply beyond our grasp, vast and continuous. There's a calm feeling in knowing that the flow of numbers, like the flow of time or the endless stars, just keeps going. And maybe, in that never-ending journey, there's a kind of quiet beauty, a gentle invitation to simply be in the moment, without needing to reach a final destination. Does our past always shape exactly who we become? Have you ever looked at an old photo of yourself, maybe from when you were little, and felt like you were looking at a different person? Or thought about something you did years ago and wondered if it still makes you who you are today? It's a quiet question, one that drifts through our minds when we're still thinking about the journey of life. Does everything that has happened to us, every mistake, every joy, every lesson, map out our entire future? Does our past truly determine exactly who we end up being? Here's the thing. Our past definitely leaves marks on us. Imagine a river flowing through a landscape. The river cuts a path, shaping the land around it. Early experiences, family, friends, even simple things like the books you read or the games you played. These are like the first currents of that river. They guide us. They teach us what the world is like, what feels safe, what feels scary. They build the very first layers of our personalities, our habits, our beliefs. Someone who grew up in a very quiet home might learn to be soft-spoken. Someone who spent a lot of time outside might feel more connected to nature. These are influences, like the banks of that river, shaping its flow. But here's where the question gets deeper. A river can also carve new paths. It can meet obstacles and find ways around them. It can even flood and change the landscape completely. And just like that river, We are not simply stuck flowing in the path our past created. The idea that we are completely fixed by our past is an old one. For a long time, some people believed in fate or destiny, that your life was already written, and you had no real say in it. But as we understand more about how our minds work and how life truly unfolds, we see something else, something powerful. Think about a tree. When a tree is a tiny sapling, its roots start growing in a certain direction. Its trunk reaches for the light. But as it grows, it faces winds, storms, maybe even other trees blocking its sun. Does it stop growing? Number. It adapts. Its branches might bend, its trunk might twist, new roots might push out in different directions. The tree you see today is shaped by its early growth, but also by every single challenge and choice it made to keep growing. Our brains are a lot like that. Science has shown us that our brains are incredibly flexible, a process called neuroplasticity. It sounds complicated, but it just means our brains can change. They can build new connections, learn new ways of thinking, and even unlearn old habits. If you learned something one way in the past and it didn't work, your brain isn't stuck forever. You can try a new method. If a past experience made you afraid of something, you can, over time, build new experiences that teach you bravery. You can choose to think differently, to act differently. You can choose to react to your past, instead of just being a reaction of your past. So, does our past always shape exactly who we become? No, not exactly. It shapes who we are right now, and it provides the starting point, the foundation. But we are the builders. We add new rooms, paint new walls, change the layout. We decide how the old memories inform the new actions. We carry our past with us. Yes, like a book of all our stories so far. But each new day is a fresh page, and we hold the pen. The quiet comfort is knowing that while the past helps make us, it doesn't define our whole story. We can always choose to write the next chapter. Why do we sometimes get that strange feeling of déjà vu? Have you ever been doing something completely normal, like walking into a new room or having a conversation, and suddenly, a strange feeling washes over you? It's like you've been there before, done that exact thing, or heard those exact words, but you know you haven't. It feels like a memory, but you can't quite place it. This quick, puzzling feeling is what we call déjà vu. It's a French phrase that simply means already seen. It's like your brain is playing a little trick on you, showing you a moment that feels both brand new and incredibly familiar, all at the same time. You're definitely experiencing it for the first time, but a part of your mind whispers, "I've done this." It can be a little unsettling, but also kind of cool, right? For a very long time, people have wondered about déjà vu. Some folks used to think it might be a memory from a past life, or maybe a moment from a dream that was suddenly coming true. These ideas are fun to think about, but here's the thing. Most scientists and brain experts today have a different, more grounded idea about what's happening. Think of your brain like an incredibly fast and complex computer that's always taking in information. It processes everything you see, hear, smell, and touch. Sometimes, just sometimes, this amazing computer has a tiny hiccup, a brief moment where things don't quite line up perfectly. One common idea is that déjà vu happens because of how our brain stores and remembers things. Imagine your brain has two slightly different paths for processing information. When you experience something new, one path might register it just a tiny fraction of a second faster than the other. So, by the time the second path processes the exact same information, it feels like it's remembering something that just happened a moment ago. It's like your brain is experiencing something fresh, but then a very, very tiny part of it gets labeled as old by mistake. It's kind of like when you're watching a video online, and it briefly skips or buffers. For a split second, it might show you the same frame again, making you feel like you just saw that moment twice, even though it was just a tiny blip in the streaming. Your brain does something similar, creating that feeling of having already seen or done something, even though it's all happening in real time for the first time. Another way to think about it is that your brain might be recognizing something that's very similar to something else you've experienced, but it can't quite connect the dots. Like when you walk into a new ice cream shop And the way the colorful scoops are displayed or the music playing reminds you so much of another shop you love that your brain gives you this intense feeling of familiarity, almost tricking you into thinking it's the exact same place or moment. Your brain just can't quite retrieve the original memory that's causing the familiarity, so it creates this strange new one. So, here's what's important. Déjà vu is usually nothing to worry about. It's a very common experience, especially for young people and teenagers. It's not a sign that anything is wrong. It's just a cool, harmless quirk of how our incredible brains work. It reminds us that our brains are wonderfully complex and still a little mysterious. They work in ways we don't always fully understand, sometimes playing these strange little tricks on us. But that's also what makes them so fascinating. It's a gentle whisper from our own minds, showing us how our perception of time and reality can sometimes bend and stretch in surprising ways. And maybe, just maybe, it's a beautiful reminder that there's still so much to wonder about, even in the everyday moments of our lives. So, the next time it happens, instead of feeling confused, you can just lean into that moment of quiet wonder. It's just your incredible brain doing its incredible, mysterious work. What is home if it's just a feeling inside us? Have you ever stopped to think about what home truly means to you? Is it just the building you live in, the address on your mail, or is it something more, something you can't quite touch or see? Here's the thing. For many people, home isn't just a place. It's a feeling. It's that deep sense of comfort, safety, and belonging that settles in your heart. Imagine you're far away from your house, maybe on a trip or at a friend's place. Even though you're not in your own bed, you might suddenly feel a wave of home when you hear a certain song or smell something that reminds you of your mom's cooking, or even when you're just laughing with family. That's because the idea of home often lives inside us, carried wherever we go. It's tied to memories, to the people we love, and to the feeling of being truly safe and accepted. Think about how humans have lived for thousands of years. Before there were houses, people lived in caves or moved from place to place. Their home wasn't a permanent building. It was where their family, their tribe, their community was. It was where they felt safe from danger, where they could rest and share stories. That feeling of belonging, of being part of a group, was their home. It's a very old, deep part of what it means to be human, this need for a safe space, not just physically, but emotionally. Our brains are actually wired to create these feelings. When you're in a place or with people where you feel safe and loved, your brain releases chemicals that make you feel calm and happy. This is why a familiar blanket might feel like home, even when you're not in your own room. It's not about the threads of the blanket itself. It's the sense of security and warmth it brings because of all the good memories tied to it. Or maybe it's the smell of fresh rain after a long, hot day that just makes you feel peaceful, like you're right where you belong. That's a kind of home, too. Consider a professional athlete who travels all the time, playing games in different cities every week. They might have an apartment somewhere, but their true home could be the feeling they get on the basketball court or with their team. It's the sense of purpose, of being with people who understand them, of being in their element. It's not about the changing locker rooms or hotel rooms. It's about that inner sense of belonging and meaning that they carry with them. So, if home is a feeling, what does that mean for us? It means you don't always need a specific place to feel at home. It means you can find that feeling of peace and belonging in many different moments, with different people, or even within yourself. And that's a powerful idea. It means you carry your home with you, like a quiet comfort in your heart. No matter where life takes you, it's always there, a steady, calm presence, waiting for you to notice it. Why are there so many stars in the night sky? Have you ever just looked up, really looked, on a clear night, far away from city lights? It's like glitter poured across a vast dark cloth, isn't it? Millions of tiny pinpricks of light, sparkling and distant. It can make you feel very small, but also incredibly connected to something huge. So, why do we see so many? Here's the thing. Those stars we see are actually suns, just like our own sun. But they are so far away. Imagine our sun, shining bright, in the middle of our solar system. Now imagine billions of other suns, all part of a giant cosmic island called a galaxy. Our galaxy, the one we live in, is called the Milky Way. It's shaped like a giant spiral, and it holds somewhere between 200 and 400 billion stars. That's a number so big, it's hard to even picture. It's like trying to count all the grains of sand on all the beaches in the world. Each grain of sand is a star, and each beach is just one part of our galaxy. But here's another astonishing truth. The Milky Way is just one galaxy. There are billions of galaxies out there in the universe. Scientists estimate there are at least 2 trillion galaxies, maybe even more. Each of those galaxies has billions of stars. It's mind-blowing to think about. For thousands of years, people have looked up at the night sky and wondered the same thing. Ancient civilizations didn't have telescopes or modern science, but they still saw the same incredible display. They used the stars to navigate, telling stories and creating myths about the constellations. They saw patterns and purpose in the seemingly endless lights, using them to understand their world, their seasons, and their place in the grand scheme of things. Their wonder was the same as ours, even if their understanding was different. They felt that deep sense of mystery, that feeling that there was something vast and unknowable out there. So, why do we see so many? It's not just because there are so many. It's also because of how far away they are and how much light they give off. Even though our eyes are pretty good, we can only see the brightest and closest stars with just our eyes. The stars you see twinkling are just a tiny, tiny fraction of the actual stars in our own galaxy, let alone the entire universe. It's like looking through a small keyhole at an enormous room. You can only see a small part of what's inside. Most of the stars are too dim, too small, or too far away for our eyes to catch their light. And then there's light pollution from our cities, which washes out even more of the sky. If you live in a city, you're seeing only a handful compared to what someone in a dark, rural area might see. There's also the incredible journey of light. When you look at a distant star, the light hitting your eye didn't just leave that star a second ago. It's been traveling for hundreds, thousands, or even millions of years to reach you. So, when you look up, you're not just seeing the present. You're looking back in time. Some of the stars whose light you see might not even exist anymore. Their light just hasn't finished its long voyage to Earth. The sheer number of stars reminds us of the vastness of existence, a scale almost impossible to grasp. It's a quiet, humbling thought. We are here, on a tiny blue planet, circling one star, in one galaxy, among billions. And yet, our minds can reach out and wonder about it all. The mystery of why there are so many stars isn't really a question that needs an answer in numbers. It's a question about wonder itself. It's about the endless beauty and mystery that surrounds us, reminding us that there is always more to see, more to learn, and more to simply feel. And that, in itself, is a kind of gentle comfort. Can we ever really know what is completely true? Have you ever stopped to think about what truth really means? It sounds simple, right? Like, the sky is blue, 2 + 2 = 4. Those feel like truths. But what if we dig a little deeper into the kind of truth that isn't so easy to measure or prove? Can we ever really be sure about everything we believe to be true? Here's the thing. People have been asking this question for thousands of years. Long ago, thinkers would sit and wonder about the world around them. They wanted to know what was real, what was just a belief, and what was completely made up. And they found out it's not always so clear. Think about it like this. Imagine you and a friend both watch the same soccer game. Afterwards, you might say, "That was the best game ever. The referee made a terrible call at the end." But your friend might say, "It was okay, but the first half was boring, and the referee made the right call." Who's right? Both of you are saying what you experienced, what feels true to you. So, is there one true way the game went down? Or is truth sometimes different for different people? This idea of truth can be tricky. For a long time, people believed the earth was flat. To them, looking out at the vast, flat ocean, it was true. It made sense based on what they saw and felt. But then, brave explorers sailed further, and scientists studied the stars. They gathered new information, and they eventually showed us that the earth is actually a sphere, a giant ball. So, what was once true changed as our understanding grew. This shows us something important. about truth. Sometimes, what we think is true is based on what we can see, or what we've been taught, or what everyone else believes at a certain time. But our senses can sometimes trick us, and what we know can always grow. Think about a magic trick. You see the magician make a coin vanish. Your eyes tell you it's gone. That feels true in that moment. But you know there's a trick, a hidden truth you haven't seen yet. Our brains work a lot like that too. We filter information through our own experiences and feelings. So, what seems completely true to one person might seem completely false to another. This doesn't mean no truth exists at all. It just means that knowing complete truth can be super complex. It might be like trying to see every single star in the night sky. You can see many, but there are always more, hidden or too far away to fully grasp. So, maybe the real point isn't always about finding one perfect, final answer to every question of truth. Maybe it's about being open to learning new things, being okay with not knowing everything, and understanding that what we believe can change and grow. It's about being curious enough to keep asking questions, even the ones with no easy answers. And in that curiosity, we find a different kind of truth, the truth of wonder and the endless journey of understanding our world. What if we could see colors we can't even imagine now? Have you ever stopped to wonder if the world around us is far more colorful than our eyes can even grasp? We see red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. These are the colors of the rainbow, the ones we learn about in school. But what if those are just a tiny fraction of all the colors that exist? What if there are shades, hues, and tones out there that our brains simply aren't built to process, colors that would look completely alien to us? Here's the thing about light and color. What we call color is actually just our brain's way of interpreting different kinds of light waves. Think of light like waves in the ocean. Some waves are long and slow, others are short and quick. Our eyes are like special sensors that can pick up only a very specific range of these light waves. This small sliver of light waves that we can see is called the visible spectrum. It's what makes up all the colors we know. But there are so many more light waves beyond what we can see. On one side, there's infrared light. You can't see it, but a television remote uses it to change channels. Your body gives off infrared heat, which is why special cameras can see you in the dark. On the other side, there's ultraviolet light. Again, you can't see it, but it's what gives you a sunburn. Bees, though, can see ultraviolet light. To a bee, a flower that looks plain white to us might have beautiful, secret patterns on its petals, patterns that guide the bee to its nectar. Imagine seeing those. This idea isn't just a fun thought experiment. It touches on how we understand reality itself. For a long time, humans only knew about the colors they could see. It wasn't until scientists started studying light more deeply that we began to understand there was a whole universe of light waves beyond our sight. This discovery really changed how we thought about what's real and what we can actually perceive. It made us realize our senses are amazing, but they also have limits. Think about it like this. Imagine you're listening to a radio, and it can only pick up one station, say a pop music station. You hear all the pop songs, and you think that's all the music there is in the world. But what if there are hundreds of other stations playing jazz, classical, rock, or news, and your radio just isn't designed to tune into them? That's a bit like our eyes and the colors of the universe. We're picking up our pop music station of visible light, but there might be countless other stations of color out there. So, if we could somehow evolve or get special tools that let us see beyond our current limits, what would those new colors even look like? Would they be a different kind of red, or a deeper blue? Or would they be something completely new, something our language has no words for? Something so different, it would reshape our entire understanding of beauty and light. It's hard to even picture, because our minds are limited by what we already know. This quiet thought, this unanswered question, reminds us of the vastness of what we don't know, even about something as familiar as light. It suggests that our world, though beautiful to us now, might hold depths of wonder we can only dream of. And perhaps that's a comforting thought as we drift off. The idea that even in the stillness, there's always more to discover, more to feel, and more to see, if only we could. Why do humans feel the need to create art? Have you ever doodled in a notebook during class? Or spent time picking out just the right color for a poster? Or maybe even made up a little song in your head when you were feeling a certain way? It might not seem like art in the way you think of famous paintings in museums, but it is. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why do we, as humans, feel this deep, constant need to create things, to put our feelings and ideas out into the world in ways that aren't just words? Here's the thing. Art is a very old human language, maybe even older than spoken words as we know them. If you look at ancient cave paintings, thousands of years old, you see drawings of animals, people hunting, symbols. These weren't just random marks. They were stories, prayers, memories, or ways to understand the world around them. For those early humans, making these images was a way to make sense of their lives, to share important moments, or maybe even to feel a sense of control over a wild world. So, right from the start, humans have been driven to make things that hold meaning beyond just their basic survival. Think of it like this. Sometimes, you have a feeling inside that's so big or so confusing, words just don't fit. How do you explain the overwhelming calm of a sunset, or the ache of missing someone, or the pure joy of a perfect moment? You could try to talk about it, but a song might capture it better. A painting could show the colors and the quiet. A dance could express the energy. Art becomes a bridge for things that words can't cross. It lets us communicate parts of ourselves that are too deep, too abstract, or too personal for everyday conversation. It's a way to let out what's churning inside. But it's not just about letting out feelings. Creating art also helps us understand ourselves and the world around us. Imagine you're trying to solve a complicated math problem. Sometimes, drawing a diagram or a picture helps you see the numbers and shapes in a new way, right? In a similar way, when we create art, whether it's writing a poem, sculpting clay, or even arranging our bedroom to feel like us, we're organizing our thoughts and feelings. We're giving shape to something unclear. It's like holding up a mirror to our inner world, allowing us to see and understand what was once just a jumble of emotions or ideas. And here's another part of it. Art connects us. When you listen to a song that perfectly describes how you feel, even if it was written by someone you've never met, you feel less alone, don't you? It's like a whisper across time and space saying, "Hey, I get it. I've felt that too." This connection is powerful. It reminds us that even though we're all individual, we share so much of the human experience, the joys, the sorrows, the wonder, the questions. So, why do we make art? Maybe it's because we're always trying to tell our stories, even the ones we don't fully understand ourselves. Maybe it's because we want to leave a mark, to say, "I was here, and this is what I saw, and this is what I felt." It's an ancient impulse, a quiet conversation with ourselves and with everyone else, showing that the human spirit isn't just about surviving, but about finding beauty, making meaning, and reaching out to touch another soul, one painting, one song, one simple doodle at a time. It's how we find our place in the vast, quiet puzzle of existence. Is there an end to all the knowledge we can learn? Have you ever stopped to think about how much there is to know in the world? It's a lot, right? From the smallest ant on the ground to the farthest star in the sky, everything holds a mystery, a piece of information waiting to be found. But here's a question that can really make you think. Is there a point where we will have learned everything there is to know? Will we ever reach an end to discovery? For centuries, people have wondered about this. Way back in ancient Greece, a wise thinker named Socrates famously said that the only true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing. That sounds a bit strange at first, doesn't it? Like, if you know nothing, how can you be wise? But here's the thing he meant. The more you learn, the more you realize how much more there is to learn. Every answer you find often opens up 5 new questions. It's like standing on a small hill and thinking you can see the whole world, only to climb a taller mountain and realize the world is so much bigger than you ever imagined. Think about a map. When you're little, a map of your town seems huge. You learn all the streets, the parks, the shortcuts. Then you see a map of your state, and it's much bigger, with so many new places to discover. Then a map of the whole country, then the world, and then the universe. With each new map, you don't just add to your knowledge, You understand that the scale of what you don't know keeps getting larger too. The edges of your understanding just keep moving further out. Consider how science works. For a long time, people thought the atom was the smallest thing. They learned a lot about it. But then, scientists learned the atom was made of even smaller particles, like protons, neutrons, and electrons. Then they found quarks, and then even smaller things. Each discovery wasn't an endpoint. It was a doorway to a new, deeper level of understanding. We learn about gravity, but then we wonder how it works across vast distances or in tiny black holes. We learn about the human brain, but then we find out how much more complex consciousness and emotions are. This can help you see how knowledge expands, always leading to new questions. Or think about learning a new skill, like playing the guitar. At first, you learn a few chords. That's a big step. You can play simple songs. You might feel like you've learned a lot. But then you realize there are thousands of chords, different playing styles, music theory, songwriting, improvisation. You could spend a lifetime learning guitar, and there would still be more to explore, new techniques to master, new sounds to create. You never truly finish learning the guitar. So, here's what happened. It seems like the more we learn, the more we understand how much we don't know. The universe doesn't have an instruction manual hidden away that we just need to find all the pages for. It's more like an endless story that keeps writing itself, and we are both the readers and the writers, discovering new chapters as we go. This isn't a frustrating thought. It's actually a beautiful one. It means that life will never truly run out of wonders. There will always be something new to be curious about, something new to explore. It means the adventure of learning never has to end. And that's a comforting thought as the day winds down and your mind drifts into quiet contemplation. What truly makes something beautiful to us? Have you ever stopped to really look at something and just felt a quiet sense of wonder? Maybe it was the way the light hit the leaves on a tree, or the pattern of ripples on a pond. Maybe it was a song that just seemed to speak right to your heart, or the kindness in someone's eyes. What is it about these moments, these sights and sounds, that makes them truly beautiful to us? It's a question that has puzzled people for thousands of years. And honestly, there's no single easy answer. But here's the thing. Maybe that's part of its beauty. When we talk about beauty, we often think of things that look perfect, like a flawless painting or a grand building. But if you think about it, beauty is much, much wider than just perfection. Sometimes, what we find most beautiful isn't perfect at all. It might be something a little bit broken, or old, or even messy. Consider, for example, your favorite old hoodie. It's probably faded, maybe has a tiny tear, and certainly isn't something you'd see on a fashion runway. But you love it. It's comfortable. It reminds you of good times, and it just feels right. To you, in that moment, that hoodie is beautiful, not because of how it looks to others, but because of what it means to you and how it makes you feel. So, maybe beauty isn't just about what we see with our eyes, but about what we feel in our hearts. Long, long ago, thinkers like the ancient Greeks, with their wise ideas, often thought that true beauty was all about perfect balance, order, and clear, simple shapes. They saw beauty in grand temples built with precise measurements and in sculptures that showed ideal human forms. They believed that if something was perfectly proportioned, it would naturally be beautiful to everyone. And there's some truth to that. Our brains often like patterns and symmetry. But here's where it gets interesting. Over time, people started to see beauty in other ways too. They realized that a rugged mountain range, with its sharp, uneven peaks and deep valleys, could be just as breathtaking as a perfectly symmetrical garden. Or that a piece of music could be beautiful not just because of its harmony, but because it made you feel a little sad or hopeful or brave. This idea suggests that beauty isn't just something out there that we discover. It's also something that happens inside us, a connection we make with something. Think about a time you heard a song that just fit your mood perfectly. The lyrics might not be the most poetic or the melody the most complex, but it just clicked. It felt beautiful because it matched a feeling within you. Or when you see someone do something incredibly kind, like helping a stranger or standing up for what's right. That act of kindness isn't a physical object, but it can be profoundly beautiful because it shows the best of what people can be. So, what truly makes something beautiful to us? It seems to be a blend of many things. Sometimes it's the way something looks, its colors, its lines, its shape, but often it's much deeper. It's about the memories it holds, the feelings it sparks, the meaning it carries, or even the lessons it teaches. It's about how it connects with our own experiences, our own stories, and our own sense of what is good and meaningful in the world. Perhaps true beauty isn't a fixed thing at all, but rather a quiet, personal echo, a gentle whisper that reminds us of the wonder that can be found in the world, and in ourselves, if we only take the time to notice. Why do some people enjoy things that are scary? Have you ever wondered why a scary movie or a spooky story can sometimes feel good? It's a strange thought, isn't it? Our bodies are designed to avoid danger, to run from things that scare us. So why do we sometimes pay money to be scared, or choose to watch something that makes us jump? Here's the thing. When we experience something scary, like a monster jumping out in a movie, our body reacts as if the danger is real. Your heart starts beating faster, your breath might get quicker, and your muscles tense up. This is your body getting ready to either fight or run away. It's called the fight or flight response, and it's a very old, very basic part of being human. Your body gets flooded with chemicals like adrenaline, which make you feel super alert and strong. But here's how it works with scary entertainment. Your brain, the smart part of you, knows it's not real. You're sitting on your couch, safe in your living room. You're not actually in danger. So, you get all the physical feelings of fear, the racing heart, the tingly sensation without any actual threat. It's like a practice run for your emotions. Your body gets to go through all the motions of facing danger. And then, because your brain knows it's pretend, you feel a huge wave of relief. That relief, that feeling of safety after the scare, can actually feel good. Your brain might even release some feel-good chemicals, linking the thrill with a sense of fun or excitement. Think about riding a roller coaster. You climb to the top, your stomach drops, you scream, and your heart pounds. It feels terrifying for a moment, but you know you're strapped in, and the ride is designed to be safe. When it's over, you often feel a rush, a sense of accomplishment, and maybe even a desire to do it again. It's the same idea. You've faced a perceived danger, and you've come out of it safe. This can make you feel powerful and alive. People have enjoyed this kind of controlled fear for a very long time. Go back thousands of years, and imagine people sitting around a campfire at night. They would tell stories of fierce beasts or mysterious spirits. These stories weren't just for fun. They helped people understand the dangers of their world. They taught them about courage and about the unknown. By listening to these tales, they could explore scary ideas in a safe way, preparing themselves mentally for the real challenges of life. So, when we choose to watch a scary movie or visit a haunted house, we're doing something similar. We're exploring our own limits, testing our reactions, and learning what we can handle. It's a way to feel powerful emotions, to experience excitement, and then to feel the comfort of safety afterward. It lets us play with the edge of our fears, reminding us that even in the face of what frightens us, we can find a way through, and maybe even discover a quiet strength within ourselves. It's a gentle reminder that sometimes understanding the darkness can help us appreciate the light even more. What's the smallest thing that exists in the world? Have you ever stopped to truly wonder about the very, very tiny? Not just things you need a magnifying glass for, like an ant or a grain of sand, but things so small, they make a grain of sand look like a giant mountain range. What is the smallest piece of something? If you keep breaking things down, what do you finally get to? For a long time, people thought the smallest thing was an atom. Imagine taking a piece of wood, then breaking it in half, and then in half again, and again, forever. Ancient Greek thinkers, like a man named Democritus, thousands of years ago, imagined there must be a point where you couldn't break it down anymore. They called these uncuttable pieces atomos, which is where we get the word atom. This was just a guess, a deep thought, because they couldn't see anything that small. They just felt it made sense for things to eventually have a smallest part. Hundreds of years later, scientists proved that atoms really do exist. They are the tiny building blocks that make up everything. Your desk, the air you breathe, the stars in the sky, all of it is made of different kinds of atoms. But then, scientists found something even smaller. Inside atoms. It turns out atoms are not uncuttable after all. Inside every atom, there's a tiny nucleus in the middle, and tiny electrons whizzing around it, like planets around a sun. The nucleus itself is made of even smaller bits called protons and neutrons. So, for a while, people thought protons, neutrons, and electrons were the smallest. But the story doesn't end there. Here's what scientists found. Protons and neutrons are actually made of even tinier things. These are called quarks. Electrons, on the other hand, seem to be truly fundamental, meaning they are not made of anything smaller we know of. Quarks and electrons, along with a few other super tiny particles, are now what we consider the elementary particles. They are the smallest known pieces of matter. It's hard to imagine how tiny these things are. Think about a regular human hair. It's very thin, right? Well, a single atom is about 1,000,000 times smaller than the width of a human hair. And quarks and electrons are thousands of times smaller than an atom. So, they are almost impossibly, unbelievably small. They don't even really have a size in the way we usually think about it. They are more like points of energy, or tiny ripples in the fabric of reality. Here's the thing. Even these elementary particles don't sit still like tiny rocks. They are constantly moving, interacting, and vibrating. And the spaces between them? Those spaces are mostly empty. So, everything around you, even a solid wall, is mostly empty space. It feels solid because of the forces and energies between these tiny particles. It's like if you wave your hand through air. It feels empty. But the air is full of atoms and molecules. A wall feels solid because its particles are held together very tightly. This idea of the smallest thing is not just about science. It's about how we understand the world. It shows us that reality is much deeper and stranger than what we see with our eyes. It also shows us that our understanding is always growing. What we think is the smallest today might be found to have even smaller parts tomorrow. This can help you think about things differently. A big problem might seem overwhelming, but maybe it's made up of many small, manageable pieces. A giant dream can be built one tiny step at a time. When you think about the smallest things, you realize everything is connected. Every single thing, from the biggest galaxy to the tiniest speck of dust, is woven from these fundamental, invisible pieces. They are the quiet, ceaseless builders of everything. And knowing this can bring a sense of calm. Even when we feel small or uncertain, we are part of this incredible, intricate dance of the very tiny. These unseen particles are always there, always working, holding everything together. Even while we drift off to sleep, there's a quiet wonder in that. How does gravity really work to keep us on the ground? Have you ever looked up at the sky, maybe at the moon, and just wondered, why don't we float away? Or, why does everything that goes up eventually come back down? It's a simple question, but the answer goes deep, touching on something so basic we often forget it's even there. It's called gravity, and it's this invisible hug that our planet gives us, always, without fail. Here's the thing about gravity. It's a force, a pull, and everything in the universe that has mass, meaning it has stuff in it, like a rock, a car, a planet, or even you, creates this pull. The more mass something has, the stronger its pull. So, our Earth is massive, incredibly huge, and because it's so big, it has a very strong gravitational pull. That's why we don't float off into space. It's why when you drop a pen, it falls to the floor, not up to the ceiling. For a long time, people saw things fall, but they didn't quite understand why. They knew it happened, but the how was a mystery. Then, hundreds of years ago, a brilliant thinker named Isaac Newton started wondering deeply about it. The famous story says he saw an apple fall from a tree, and it made him ask not just that it fell, but why it fell. And he realized that the same force pulling the apple to the ground was also pulling the moon around the earth, and the earth around the sun. It wasn't magic, it was a fundamental rule of the universe. So, imagine you have a really big trampoline, and you put a bowling ball right in the middle. The bowling ball is heavy, right? So, It makes a dip, a curve in the trampoline surface. Now, if you roll a small marble near the bowling ball, the marble won't just go in a straight line. It will roll into that dip and move towards the bowling ball. The bowling ball isn't reaching out and grabbing the marble directly. Instead, it's curving the space around it, and the marble is just following that curve. That's a bit like how gravity works. A huge object, like Earth, creates a dent or a curve in the fabric of space itself. And everything else, like us, just rolls into that curve. This isn't just about big planets, though. Your own body, because it has mass, has a tiny gravitational pull, and so does your desk, and your backpack, and the air around you. It's just so incredibly small compared to the Earth's pull that we never notice it. We only feel the effects of really, really massive things. Gravity is everywhere, always working. It's the silent architect of the cosmos, arranging stars into galaxies, keeping planets in their orbits, and holding the very ground beneath your feet. It doesn't make a sound, it doesn't ever stop, and it doesn't ask for anything in return. It simply is. It's the invisible anchor that gives form to the universe, and it's the quiet, constant force that keeps us safe and grounded on our blue planet, allowing us to walk, run, and simply be. It's a profound connection to the vastness, felt in every step we take. Why do we constantly ask why about everything? Have you ever stopped to really think about how many questions you ask in a single day? And how many of those questions start with one simple, powerful word? Why? Why is the sky blue? Why do I feel this way? Why did that happen? It's like our brains are wired to constantly search for the reasons behind everything we see, hear, and feel. Here's the thing. Asking why is not just about getting an answer. It's about wanting to understand. It's about looking past the surface of things to find the hidden connections, the causes, the purposes. When you ask why, you're not just curious. You're trying to figure out how the world works and how you fit into it. Think way back to the very first humans. Imagine them looking up at the night sky, seeing the moon and stars move, or watching a storm roll in with thunder and lightning. They didn't have science, textbooks, or the internet. All they had was their own minds. And so they asked why. Why does the sun disappear every night? Why does the rain fall? Why do seasons change? They needed to understand these things, not just because they were curious, but to survive. Knowing why the river flooded could save their lives. Understanding why certain plants grew in certain places meant they could find food. This deep need to understand, to make sense of the world, is where philosophy and science truly began. People started telling stories to explain the why, and over time, they developed ways to observe and test those why questions, leading to discoveries. Our brains are naturally built to solve problems and find patterns. It's like when you're putting together a puzzle, and you just know there's a piece that fits perfectly, even if you haven't found it yet. Or when you hear a story, and you just have to know why the characters did what they did. That's your why instinct kicking in. It's the same part of you that asks, why did my friend act that way today? Or, why does that song make me feel sad? You're searching for the underlying reasons, the hidden logic, the unspoken emotions. This constant quest for why is one of the most human things about us. It's what pushes us to learn new things, to create art, to invent new technologies. Every invention, every scientific breakthrough, every piece of knowledge we have started with someone asking why. Why does the apple fall? Because of gravity. Why do our bodies get sick? Because of germs. These answers changed our world. But here's a gentle thought. Sometimes we ask why, and there isn't a simple answer. Sometimes the why is too big, too complex, or maybe it just doesn't have an answer we can grasp right now. Like, why are we here? Why is there anything at all instead of nothing? These are the kinds of questions that can keep us up at night, not because they're scary, but because they make us think about the vastness of the universe and our place in it. And that's okay. The beauty of the why isn't always in finding the perfect answer. Often, the real power is in the asking itself. It shows that we are alive, that we are thinking, that we are trying to grow and connect with the world around us. It means we are open to new ideas, ready to learn, and willing to wonder. So, when you ask, why, next, remember that you are tapping into something ancient and deeply human. A quiet journey of discovery that never truly ends. Is every single moment completely new and unique? Have you ever really stopped to wonder about time? Not just the clock ticking, but how each second feels. When you take a breath right now, is it truly, completely different from the breath you took just a moment ago? What if every single second that passes is something that has never happened before and will never happen again? This idea is pretty deep, but it's also something you can feel. Think about it like this. Imagine a river. You might step into that river today. The water flows past you. If you step into the exact same spot tomorrow, is it the same river? Well, yes, it's still that river, with the same banks and perhaps the same name. But the water itself? The actual drops of water flowing around your feet are totally different. They've moved on, and new water has taken their place. This isn't just about water. It's a way to think about everything. Hundreds of years ago, a wise thinker named Heraclitus, who lived in ancient Greece, said something similar. He famously pointed out that no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man. This simple idea tells us a lot. It means the river is constantly changing, and so are we. We are never exactly the same person from one moment to the next. Our thoughts shift, our bodies grow, our feelings change. The world around us is also in constant motion, always rearranging itself. Think about something as simple as walking the path to school or practice. You walk it almost every day, right? It's the same path, the same houses, the same trees. But is it really the same experience each time? Maybe one day the sun is shining brightly, and the next it's raining. One day you might be thinking about a test, and another day you're humming a song. The path itself might have a new leaf on it, or a puddle you didn't see yesterday. You, the person walking, are also different. You might be a little bit taller, or you learned something new the day before, or maybe you're just feeling a bit happier or more tired. So, even though the path is familiar, your experience of it, and you yourself, are unique in that specific moment. This isn't just a philosophy. There's a bit of science to it too. Our brains are always learning, always adapting. Every new piece of information, every new experience, no matter how small, subtly changes the connections in our brains. It's like your brain is constantly being updated. You are literally a different person with every new thought and feeling. So here's the thing. If every single moment is truly unique, what does that mean for us? It means that every breath, every glance, every conversation is special. It means you can never truly repeat a moment, even if you try to do the exact same thing again. The feeling will be different. The light will be different. You will be different. And that's why it matters. It means we have a chance to see things freshly, even the things we think we know well. The same old tree outside your window might show you a new shade of green you hadn't noticed before, or a bird you've never seen there. The same song you've heard 100 times might suddenly connect with you in a new way because of how you're feeling right then. Embracing this idea that every moment is new can bring a quiet kind of peace. It reminds us to be truly present, to really notice what is happening right now, because this moment will never come again. It's not about trying to hold on to anything, but about experiencing it fully as it passes. Each second offers a fresh beginning, a quiet opportunity to simply be, and to notice the unfolding uniqueness of life around you. It's a gentle reminder to appreciate the small, fleeting wonders that make up our everyday. What's the taste of pure happiness, if it had one? Imagine, for a moment, that you could taste happiness. Not just the quick rush you get when something good happens, but a deep, lasting feeling, something you could actually taste on your tongue. What kind of flavor would it be? Would it be as sweet as your favorite candy? Or maybe as fresh and cool as water on a really hot day? When we talk about pure happiness, we're not just talking about the excited feeling of winning a game or getting a perfect score on a test. Those are fantastic moments, and they definitely bring joy. But pure happiness feels different. It's a deeper, more settled kind of feeling. It's like a quiet hum inside you, a sense that everything is truly okay, right here, right now. worries seem to fade, and you feel truly content, like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. This kind of happiness isn't about getting everything you want. In fact, it's often about feeling good with what you already have, and truly being at peace with yourself and the world around you. It's a feeling of inner calm, a deep sense of well-being that just settles in your heart. For thousands of years, people have wondered about this very idea of deep happiness. Long, long ago, in ancient Greece, there was a famous thinker named Aristotle. He talked about something that wasn't just a fleeting good feeling, but a whole way of living. He believed true happiness came from living a good life, a meaningful life, where you were always trying to be your best self and contribute to the world. It wasn't about being excited every single minute. Instead, it was about living in a way that made you feel like you were thriving, like a healthy plant growing tall and strong. So, this idea of pure happiness isn't just a sudden burst of sunshine. It's more like a steady, warm glow that comes from living a life that feels right and true to you. Think about a time when you weren't trying to be happy, but it just came to you naturally. Maybe you were sitting outside on a soft evening, watching the sunset with your family or friends. The air was calm, the sky was beautiful, and everyone was just quiet, enjoying the moment together. There was no big thing happening, no loud music or crazy fun, just a peaceful feeling of being connected and content. That quiet, settled joy, that's closer to the taste we're imagining. Or think about another moment. Maybe you've been working really hard on a tough school project, or practicing a difficult move in a sport. It felt challenging, maybe even frustrating. But then, you finally finish it, or you finally get the move right. There's that first rush of excitement, like yes. But after that, a different feeling settles in. It's a deep satisfaction, a quiet sense of pride and accomplishment. It's not loud. It's more like a warm, comforting feeling spreading through you, making you feel complete. It's like the calm, cool feeling you get after a long, refreshing swim on a hot day. Not a rush, but a deep sense of relief and comfort that fills you up. That kind of feeling, that deep settled rightness, is closer to the flavor of pure happiness. So, if pure happiness had a taste, it wouldn't be like candy that disappears quickly. It might be more like the taste of being fully present, right here, right now, without needing anything else to make you feel whole. It's a quiet understanding that things are okay, and that you are okay, just as you are. It's a very personal flavor too. What makes one person feel deeply settled and content might be different for someone else. But often, it's found in the simple moments, connecting with people you care about, noticing the beauty around you, or feeling grateful for what you have. It's not something you can buy or force. It's a feeling that often whispers rather than shouts. And maybe, just maybe, the taste of pure happiness is something you can only truly feel deep inside your heart. A peaceful warmth that lets you know you're home. Why do we sometimes feel sad for no clear reason? Have you ever woken up, or just been going about your day, and suddenly felt a bit heavy, a little down, but couldn't quite put your finger on why? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Like a gray cloud has drifted over your mind, even though there's no storm happening outside. This quiet sadness, arriving without an invitation, is something almost everyone experiences. It's not like being upset because you failed a test or argued with a friend. Those reasons are clear. This is different. This sadness comes from a deeper place, a place we don't always understand right away. For a very long time, people have wondered about this. Ancient thinkers, long before modern science, would talk about melancholy. They thought it was caused by certain body fluids being out of balance. They were trying to make sense of something mysterious. Later, writers would describe it as a blue mood, or a shadow, passing over the soul. It shows that feeling a bit sad for no clear reason isn't new. It's part of being human, a thread woven into the fabric of what it means to feel. Think of it like the weather. Sometimes, the sky is bright and clear, full of sunshine. Then, without any big storm clouds gathering, a general grayness can just settle in. It's not raining hard, there's no thunder, but the light is different, softer, a little dimmer. Our feelings can be like that. Our inner emotional weather can shift, not always because of a big event, but sometimes just because that's what the weather does. It changes. So, What might be going on when this happens? Well, a lot of things. Our bodies are amazing, complex machines. Inside our brains, there are tiny chemical messengers, like little signals, constantly moving around. Sometimes, these signals might be a bit off balance, just for a little while. This isn't a sign that something is terribly wrong, but just a part of how our bodies work. It's like how you might feel a little tired even if you slept well, or crave a certain food for no specific reason. Our bodies have their own rhythms, their own ups and downs. Also, our minds are always picking up on small things we might not even notice. Maybe you heard a sad song playing faintly, or saw a picture that brought back a distant memory, or even just felt the change in the air pressure before a real storm. These tiny signals can gently nudge our mood without us being fully aware of why. It's like a quiet ripple starting in a pond, not a big splash. And here's the thing. Sometimes emotions just happen. They flow through us, like water in a river. We don't always need a specific cause for every feeling. Joy can appear unexpectedly, right? You might suddenly feel happy just because the sun feels warm on your face. Sadness can be the same. It's a natural part of being human. It doesn't mean you're broken, or that something terrible is about to happen. It simply means you're feeling. So, if you ever find yourself feeling a little blue without a clear reason, know that you're not alone. It's okay to feel that way. It's a reminder that our inner worlds are vast and complex, full of gentle shifts. There's no need to search desperately for a reason, or to blame yourself. Sometimes, the best thing we can do is just notice the feeling, acknowledge it, and be kind to ourselves. Like the gray sky, it will often pass, making way for the sun again. And that's just how feelings work. They come and they go. If you knew your future, would you try to change it? Imagine this for a moment. What if, somehow, a secret messenger whispered to you exactly what tomorrow would bring, or next year, or even your whole life ahead? Would you want to hear it? And if what you heard wasn't exactly perfect, would you try to change it? This is one of those big questions people have thought about for thousands of years. It touches on ideas about what our lives mean, and how much control we really have. Here's the thing. Knowing the future sounds powerful, right? If you knew you were going to ace a test next week, you might feel super calm. But what if you knew you were going to trip and fall in front of everyone tomorrow? Or that you'd miss out on something really important? That's where the idea of changing the future comes in. It's about feeling like you have a choice. People have always told stories about heroes who try to stop a bad event they were warned about, or kings who tried to make good things happen faster because a prophecy said they would. These stories show us how much we want to have a say in our own lives. But here's a curious thought. If you knew something was going to happen, and you tried to change it, does that mean it wasn't really going to happen in the first place? Or did your effort to change it become part of the future that was always going to unfold? It's like a path through a forest. If you know there's a fallen log ahead, you can choose to step over it. But maybe knowing about the log was always part of how you were meant to reach the other side. This isn't just a fantasy idea. Psychologists, who study how our minds work, know that when we learn new information, it changes our choices. For example, if you know a friend is going through a tough time, you might act differently around them, offering more kindness. Your knowledge changes your actions, which then changes their experience. So, in a way, knowing something about a future moment can change your present actions, which then shapes what happens next. Think about a simple example. Imagine you had a super special app that told you, tomorrow during lunch you will accidentally spill juice all over your favorite shirt. Now, with this knowledge, what do? Maybe you wear an old shirt. Maybe you choose water instead of juice. Maybe you hold your cup extra carefully. You would probably try to avoid that spill, right? By taking action based on what you knew, you changed that specific future event. But here's the deeper part. What if that spill was supposed to lead to something good? Like, maybe someone you really wanted to talk to would have offered you their napkin and started a great conversation. By avoiding the spill, you also avoided the chance meeting. This shows us how everything is connected. Changing one small thing might have big, unexpected ripple effects, like a tiny stone dropped in a pond. So, if we could see what's ahead, and if we chose to change it, Would we be making things better? Or just different? And maybe, just maybe, the true beauty of life is that we don't know what's coming. Because not knowing means every day is an adventure. Every decision you make is truly your own, made in the moment, without the weight of what's already written. It means you get to grow, to learn from surprises, and to discover your own path step by step. Maybe the real power isn't in changing the future, but in choosing how you live each present moment, making it meaningful and full of your own unique story, whatever comes next. And that's a pretty calming thought, isn't it? Does fate exist? Or is it only about our choices? Imagine you're standing at the start of a long, winding path. You know, like the kind in a park or a forest. Some people feel like the entire path, every turn, every bump, is already laid out for them. Like a movie script was written before they even stepped foot on the set. This idea is what we call fate or destiny. It's the thought that everything that happens to us, big or small, is meant to happen. That our future is already decided, and we're just playing out a part we can't change. But then, there's another way to see it. What if, with every step you take, you're actually choosing the next part of the path? What if you can decide to turn left or right, to climb a hill, or to sit down and rest for a while? This is the idea of choice. It means you have the power to make decisions, and those decisions shape your future. It's about believing that your actions, your thoughts, and your efforts truly matter. This question about fate versus choice is really old. People have wondered about it for thousands of years, long before our grandparents were even born. Ancient thinkers, philosophers, and even storytellers would debate this. Some believed that powerful gods or a grand plan decided everything. Others argued that humans were free to choose their own way, making their own destiny. And that's why it matters. Because how we answer this question for ourselves can change how we live our lives. Think about something simple, like deciding what to do after school today. You might have homework, or friends want to hang out, or maybe you just want to relax. If you believe in strict fate, you might think, whatever happens, happens. I'm just going to see what I'm supposed to do. But if you believe in choice, you'd think, okay, I have homework, but I choose to do it now so I can play later. Or, I choose to call my friend and plan something fun. Every one of those small decisions, day after day, adds up. They build your experiences, your skills, and even who you become. Here's the thing. Sometimes, events happen to us that feel completely out of our control. A sudden change at school, a move to a new town, or something unexpected that makes us sad or happy. It's easy in those moments to wonder if it was meant to be. And maybe, in some ways, some things are just how they are, like the weather or gravity. We can't choose those big, universal facts. But even when those things happen, we always have a choice in how we react. We can choose to be upset, or to find a way to make the best of it. We can choose to learn from a hard situation, or let it defeat us. So, is it fate, or is it choice? Maybe it's not an either-or situation. Perhaps life is like a river. The river flows in a general direction, and that might be like fate, a natural course of things. But along the way, you can choose how you paddle your boat. You can choose to go fast or slow, to navigate around rocks, or to stop at the shore for a bit. Your choices might not change the river's final destination, but they definitely change your journey, your experience, and the memories you make along the way. It can feel calming to think that some things are just meant to be, taking some pressure off our shoulders. But it can also feel empowering to know that our choices matter. And maybe the most peaceful thought is that we don't have to fully figure out this big question right now. Instead, we can simply focus on the power we do have, the power of our choices. Each morning, each afternoon, we get to decide a little bit about what our day and our life will look like. And that, in itself, is a truly amazing thing to think about as you drift off to sleep. What is infinity like, really? Have you ever looked up at the night sky, past the stars you can see, and wondered what's beyond them? Or maybe you've counted the seconds, then minutes, then hours, and thought, does time ever really stop? These kinds of big questions often lead us to a very deep idea: infinity. Here's the thing about infinity: it's not a number. You can't reach it. You can't write it down like infinity equals 100. It's more like a concept, an idea of something that just keeps going, forever and ever, with no end. It means without bounds. Imagine drawing a line. You can make it longer and longer, but if you imagine a line that never stops, that stretches out forever in both directions, that's closer to what infinity means. It's endless. It's limitless. For a long, long time, people have thought about this. Ancient thinkers way back in Greece would talk about it. They wondered about things like, if you walk halfway to a door, and then halfway again and again, do you ever actually reach the door? This isn't exactly infinity, but it shows how they struggled with the idea of things getting smaller and smaller, without ever truly vanishing. They understood that infinity wasn't something you could easily grasp. It felt too big for the human mind. The easiest way to think about infinity is with numbers. You know how numbers go: 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. You can always add one more. No matter how big a number you can imagine, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000, 1,000,000,000,000, a number with 100 zeros, you can always just say +1. There is no largest number. Because you can always add one, the sequence of numbers goes on forever. That's a good way to picture infinity. It's like an endless chain where every link leads to another, and that chain never breaks. Think about a continuous flow of water. If you turn on a faucet and let the water run, it keeps coming and coming. If you could somehow let it run forever, never turning it off, that endless stream would be a bit like infinity. It's not just a lot of water, it's an unending supply. Or imagine a thought. Sometimes, when you're really thinking deeply about something, one idea leads to another, and then another. And it feels like your thoughts could just keep flowing, branching out forever. The possibilities of thought, the connections your brain can make, can feel infinite. Even in our daily lives, we bump into it, even if we don't call it infinity. Think about possibilities. When you stand at a crossroads, there are usually a few paths you can take. But what if you imagine all the tiny choices you could make, the small turns, the different words you could say, the number of ways your life could unfold, based on every tiny decision, feels incredibly vast, almost without end. It's a bit like a tree, with an infinite number of branches, each representing a different path. So, what is infinity like, really? It's not a thing you can touch or see. It's not a place you can visit. It's a profound idea. It's the concept of something that has no limit, no boundary, no endpoint. It shows up in math, in physics when we think about the universe, and even in our own minds when we ponder how much we can learn or imagine. Thinking about infinity can be a little strange. It can make you feel very small, realizing how huge and endless some things are, but it can also fill you with a sense of wonder. It reminds us that there's always more to discover, more to learn, more to imagine. It tells us that not everything has a neat, simple answer or a clear stopping point, and sometimes just accepting that endlessness, that boundless quality, can bring a quiet kind of peace. It's okay not to grasp it all, but just to let the ideas sit with you, opening up your mind to how truly vast and mysterious existence can be. It's a reminder of the endless possibilities that exist, even beyond what we can fully understand. Why do we care so much about what others think? Have you ever stopped and really thought about this? Why does it feel like what other people say or think about you matters so much? Maybe it's about a new haircut, or a picture you posted, or even just how you answered a question in class. That little voice wonders, what will they think of me? It's a feeling almost everyone knows, deep down. It's a quiet whisper, or sometimes a loud shout, in our minds. Here's the thing. This isn't just about being shy or wanting to be popular. This goes back a very, very long time. Think about early humans, thousands of years ago. They lived in small groups, like tribes. Being part of that group wasn't just nice. It was how you stayed safe. It was how you found food and protection. If the group didn't like you, if they kicked you out, you were in serious danger. You might not survive on your own. So, our brains learned a very important lesson. Fitting in, being accepted, and getting along with others was key to staying alive. This feeling, this strong need to be part of a group, is still wired into us today. Even though we don't live in tribes anymore, our brains still work in similar ways. We still have that deep desire to belong, to be seen as one of us, rather than an outsider. It's like a hidden program running in the background of our minds. It tells us to pay attention to social cues, to try and get approval from others. Think about it like this. Imagine you're in a new school, or joining a new club. What's one of the first things you want? You want to make friends. You want to feel comfortable and accepted. You might even change how you talk, or what you wear a little bit to fit in with the people around you. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a natural way we try to connect with others. We want to be understood and to be valued. And here's how it plays out in our daily lives. Say you're choosing an outfit for school. Even if you love a certain shirt, you might pause and wonder, what if others think it's weird? Or maybe you're really good at something, like drawing or playing an instrument, but you're nervous to show it off because you worry about what others will say. That worry is that ancient part of your brain saying, be careful, don't do anything that might make the group reject you. It's a protective mechanism, in a way. Psychology, the study of the mind, tells us a lot about this. Our brains are set up to be social. When someone smiles at us, or gives us a compliment, our brains release feel-good chemicals. It's like a little reward for being socially accepted. On the other hand, when we feel left out or criticized, it can actually feel like a physical pain. That's how deeply connected we are to our social world. We are constantly, sometimes without even knowing it, checking our reflection in the eyes of others. We use their reactions as a kind of mirror to help us understand ourselves and our place in the world. But here's the problem. Sometimes, that mirror can become our only view. So, it's not strange or weak to care what others think. It's part of being human. It's a leftover from a time when belonging meant survival. But today, in our modern world, we have a little more freedom. We can choose how much we let those reflections define us. We can learn to listen to that ancient voice, nod to it, and then also listen to our own inner voice. This might sound simple, but it's a lifelong journey. It means figuring out who you are, what you believe in, and what makes you happy, even if it's different from what everyone else is doing. It means understanding that while fitting in can feel good, being truly yourself feels even better, in a deeper, more lasting way. It's about finding that balance between connection and personal truth. It's like being a strong tree. You have roots that connect you to the earth and other trees, but your branches reach up uniquely towards the sky, shaped by your own growth. And that's why it matters. Understanding why we care so much about others' opinions can help us choose when to listen to them and when to trust our own path. It allows us to be kind to ourselves for having these feelings, and then gently encourages us to step into who we truly are. One thought, one choice, one day at a time. It's a quiet strength, found in knowing yourself, even when the world is full of other voices. Where does forgotten knowledge and memories go? Have you ever tried to remember something really hard, but it just wouldn't come back? Like a dream that fades the moment you wake up, or the name of someone you just met, or that one word you know, but it hides? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? As if a part of your mind closed a door, and suddenly, something that was just there is now nowhere. So, where does it go? Does it just vanish into thin air? Or is it still somewhere, deep inside us, waiting to be found again? Here's the thing about our brains. They are incredible. They're like the most complex, busy library you can imagine. Every single thing you learn, every moment you live, every smell, every sound gets stored. But just like a library can't keep every single book ever written in the main display, your brain can't keep every single memory in easy reach all the time. Some memories are like bestsellers, always checked out and in demand. Others are like old, dusty books that haven't been opened in years. They're still there, on a shelf somewhere, but you might need a map and a flashlight to find them. For a long time, people have wondered about this. Ancient thinkers and wise people have often talked about lost knowledge, forgotten stories, or even memories from lives we don't remember. They might have thought of it as a great pool of shared understanding, or perhaps as whispers from the past that sometimes break through. It suggests that perhaps knowledge isn't truly gone, but just out of our immediate grasp, existing in some other form or place, waiting to be rediscovered. It's like when an old building is covered over by vines and weeds. The building is still there, but you have to clear away the new growth to see it again. But what about the memories in your own head? What happens to the math facts you learned last year but now can't quite recall? Or the plot of a movie you loved but only remember bits and pieces? Sometimes, forgetting isn't a malfunction. It's how our brains work to keep us going. Think of your brain like your phone. If you have too many apps open at once, your phone gets slow and might even crash. Your brain also needs to manage its information. So, what happens is that your brain decides what's truly important and what isn't needed right now. It strengthens the connections for important memories and prunes, or weakens the connections for less important ones. This makes room for new learning, new experiences, new memories. So, that forgotten math fact might still be there, but the path to it has become overgrown, like an old trail in the woods that nobody uses anymore. It's not so much that the memory is gone, like a puff of smoke, more like it's been filed away in a very distant drawer, or the pathway to it has been cleared to make way for a superhighway of more recent, more important thoughts. It's a form of mental organization. This process happens a lot when you sleep too. Your brain sorts through the day's events, deciding what to keep and what to let fade. Sometimes, the things we forget are exactly what we needed to forget, so we can focus on what matters now. So, where does forgotten knowledge and memories go? Perhaps they drift into the quiet corners of our minds, waiting patiently, or they dissolve gently, freeing up space for all the new wonders yet to come. It reminds us that our minds are always changing, always adapting, always preparing us for what's next. And maybe, just maybe, sometimes forgetting is a gentle mercy, a way the mind makes space for peace. What's the sound of a memory slowly fading away? Have you ever tried to remember something clearly, like a dream from last night, or a story your grandma told, and it feels like parts of it are just gone? Like trying to see through a fog, or listening to a song where the volume slowly gets lower until you can barely hear it? That feeling, that quiet slipping away of details, is as close as we can get to the sound of a memory fading. It's not a sound your ears hear, but a feeling in your mind. Here's the thing about memories. They aren't like perfect pictures or video files stored neatly in your brain. Our brains don't work like a computer's hard drive, where you save a document and it stays exactly the same forever. Instead, memories are more like a story you tell yourself. And each time you tell it, or even just think about it, it can change just a little bit. And if you don't tell that story, or think about it for a long time, some parts of it can simply get lost. This is a totally normal process called forgetting or memory decay. It happens to everyone. Think about how people have thought about memory over time. Thousands of years ago, some wise thinkers in ancient Greece, like Plato, imagined the mind like a block of soft wax. When you learned something or experienced something, it was like pressing a stamp into that wax. The deeper the impression, the stronger the memory. But over time, the wax could get worn down, or new impressions could be made on top of the old ones, making them harder to see. So, even way back then, people understood that memories weren't permanent and could fade. It's a very old idea that memory isn't a perfect record, but something that changes. In our brains, memories are made by connections between brain cells, called neurons. These connections are like tiny pathways. When you remember something, you're basically walking down that pathway. But if you don't walk down that path often, it can get overgrown, like a hiking trail in the woods that nobody uses anymore. The connections between those brain cells can weaken. This isn't because something is wrong. It's just how our brains work. They are always trying to make space, to be efficient, and sometimes that means letting go of details that aren't used often. Let's say you watched your favorite movie 2 years ago. You can probably still remember the main characters, what the movie was about, and maybe your favorite scene. But can you remember every line of dialogue? Every small detail in the background of every shot? Probably not. Those smaller details often fade first. It's like remembering a birthday party from when you were very young. You might clearly remember the cake or a specific gift, or how happy you felt. But you probably don't remember every single person who was there, or what every single conversation was about. The big, important parts, or the strong feelings, tend to stick around longer than the small, less important details. So, what does it mean when memories fade? Is it sad? Sometimes. Yes. We might wish we could hold on to every single moment perfectly. But the fading of memories is also a natural, gentle process. It helps our minds make space for new experiences, new learning, and new memories. It reminds us that our past isn't a fixed, unchanging picture, but a living story that we carry with us, always shifting a little. Even when specific details blur, the main feeling, the lesson learned, or the impact an event had on us often remains. It's a quiet understanding that not everything lasts forever, and that's okay. The most important essence often stays with us, guiding us forward. Can silence itself be considered a sound? Have you ever been in a place so incredibly quiet that it felt strange, maybe even a little unsettling? It's a funny thought, isn't it? We usually think of sound as something we hear: music, voices, a dog barking, and silence. Well, that's just the absence of all those things. No noise, no vibrations, just nothing. But is it really nothing? Here's the thing. Our world is almost never completely silent. Even in the quietest room, you might hear the soft hum of electricity, the gentle creak of a floorboard, or the distant drone of a car. And if you close your eyes and really try to listen in what seems like total quiet, you might start to notice other things. You might hear your own heartbeat, a soft thump-thump in your ears, or the gentle rush of blood moving through your veins. You might even hear the quiet whir of your own thoughts, like a tiny engine working inside your head. So, if you're hearing something, even internal sounds, is that still silence? Or does silence become a stage for these softer sounds to finally be noticed? Think about it this way. What is sound, really? It's vibrations. When something moves, it causes tiny waves to travel through the air, and our ears pick up these waves. Our brains then turn these vibrations into what we recognize as sound. So, if silence means no vibrations, then how can it be a sound? But for humans, silence isn't just about what's not there. It's also about what is there when everything else stops. Imagine a stage when all the actors have left and the lights dim. There's no play happening, but the stage itself is still there. It's a space, waiting. Silence can be like that. A space. And sometimes that space becomes so profound, so noticeable, that it feels like an experience in itself. It's not just an empty hole. It's a noticeable void that has a presence. There was a composer named John Cage. From a long time ago, he was fascinated by silence. He once went into a special room called an anechoic chamber. This room was designed to absorb almost all sound, making it one of the quietest places on earth. He expected to hear nothing, true silence. But what he discovered was that he could still hear two sounds: the high-pitched hum of his nervous system and the low throb of his blood circulating. This made him realize that true silence, a complete absence of all sound, might not be possible for living beings. Our bodies are always making tiny sounds, and our brains are always active. So, maybe silence isn't an absence of sound, but rather an absence of external sound. And in that quiet space, our internal world and the very subtle whispers of the world around us become much louder. It's like when you try to find a specific thought in a noisy classroom. It's hard, but in a quiet library, that thought might suddenly become very clear. The quiet isn't a sound itself, but it allows the sound of your own mind to come forward. Silence, in this way, is less about emptiness and more about a different kind of fullness. It's the sound of your own being. It's the space where ideas can form, where feelings can be felt without distraction, where your mind can finally relax and breathe. It's a special kind of quiet that allows us to hear what matters most, sometimes even the quiet voice of our own thoughts. It reminds us that even when the world outside goes still, there's always something beautiful, something deep waiting inside. What if the entire universe is actually a living thing? Have you ever looked up at the night sky, at all those stars and galaxies, and felt a quiet wonder? It's easy to think of the universe as just a huge, empty space filled with rocks and gas. But what if it's more than that? What if the whole universe, every single part of it, is actually alive? Here's the thing. This idea isn't new. For thousands of years, long before telescopes or spaceships, people around the world wondered about this very question. Ancient cultures, old philosophers, and storytellers from different lands often thought of the Earth, the Sun, or even the entire cosmos as a giant, breathing being. They saw how everything seemed connected, how things grew and changed, and it made them think of life. Now, when we talk about the universe being alive, we don't mean it has a brain or talks to us. It's not like a person or an animal. But think about what makes something alive here on Earth. Living things grow, they change, they react to their environment, they have cycles, and all their different parts work together. Imagine your own body. You are made of trillions of tiny cells. Each cell is incredibly small, and in its own way, it's alive. But those cells aren't just floating around randomly. They organize themselves into tissues, organs, and systems, like your heart, your lungs, your brain. All these parts work together, constantly communicating, constantly changing to make you a living being. You are more than just a collection of cells. You are a whole organism. So, here's a thought. What if the universe is like that? What if galaxies, stars, planets, and even the tiny particles we can barely see are all like the cells and organs of something unimaginably vast? The universe is constantly expanding, constantly changing, constantly creating new stars and planets. Old stars die, and their materials become new stars, new planets, maybe even new life. It's like a giant cosmic cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Think about a huge forest. It's made of individual trees, plants, insects, and animals. Each one is a separate living thing, but the whole forest itself can feel like one big connected system. The trees share nutrients through their roots. The air flows through them, the water cycles, and animals move within it. If you look at it from far away, the forest breathes, it grows, it thrives, it feels alive. Perhaps the universe is like that forest, but on the biggest scale imaginable. The different parts, giant clusters of galaxies, vast stretches of empty space, nebulae glowing with new stars, all work together in a way we are still trying to understand. There are cosmic webs that connect galaxies, like the nervous system of a giant creature. There are mysterious forces, like dark matter and dark energy, that seem to shape how everything moves and interacts. It makes you wonder, if the universe is alive, what does that make us? Are we just tiny cells within its vastness? Are our thoughts, our feelings, our very existence part of its own grand activity? It's a deep thought, for sure, and that's why it matters. This idea can make you feel both incredibly small and wonderfully connected. It can make you think that everything around us, from the tiniest pebble to the farthest star, might be part of something truly magnificent, something that pulses with a life beyond our full understanding. It gently reminds us that we are not just in the universe, but perhaps we are truly of it, part of its very breath.